Chapter 117. Hearing Vivian's words, Agnes looked at her with a bit of doubt, but she didn't say anything. Sue-E curiously asked back with a bit of expectation, "Why can't it work? Vivian, can you see where it can't work?" Sue-E indeed had a lot of expectations for Vivian because ever since he accidentally found out that Vivian had talent in designing mechanical products, he directly sent Vivian to Baron Ricto Magic Academy to learn how to draw. He wanted to dig out her talent in this area. Now that he saw that she had a different opinion on the beautiful magic lamp that Agnes had drawn, Sue-E was not surprised at all, rather he was very excited. Vivian looked at Agnes. Seeing that this big sister with a pair of long ears who looked like an elf from the legends didn't reveal any dissatisfaction, she hesitantly pointed at the magic lamp on the painting. She pointed at the beautiful base and said, "If it's like this base, then there's no way to inlay the magic array on it." Sue-E looked at where Vivian was pointing and thought for a bit before finding that Vivian was completely right. This magic lamp's structure was something that Evita thought of herself because she didn't study the related design and only designed it based on her own requirement. So there were many places that she didn't consider or she didn't have the relevant knowledge at all. This magic lamp's current appearance was something that Evita had decided on after many experiments, so she didn't consider much room for expansion. With Agnes' changes, there were immediately problems. The most important problem was that the base's design was perfect for inlaying the magic array, but with Agnes' changes, the space left on the base was much smaller and there was no way to inlay the same magic array on it. In other words, this kind of design was a complete failure. Sue-E looked at Vivian and couldn't help nodding his head in praise. She was actually able to see through the most important and crucial part of this appearance at a glance. It was enough to show that she really had talent in this area. "Very good, Vivian, you're very right," Sue-E praised. "Then according to your thoughts, how should this magic lamp be changed?" "I think it's best to change it this way." Perhaps it was Sue-Ye's encouragement that gave her courage, but Vivian directly took the drawing board from Agnes' hands and drew a new magic lamp design on another piece of paper. He had to admit that the elves were indeed gifted in art. Although Vivian had some talent in drawing, and had even studied at Baron Ricto Magic Academy for a period of time, the painting she drew now was very vivid and lifelike, but it was slightly inferior in terms of impression. But compared to Agnes, who only gave a simple drawing, Vivian not only gave a drawing, she also gave a design of the internal structure, making it look more intuitive. And this came from Sue-Ye's guidance to Vivian. After Vivian finished drawing, Sue-E immediately praised her generously. "Good! Vivian, your drawing is amazing." In Vivian's design, she had considered the overall design of the magic lamp. Not only did she leave enough space for the magic array, she also left some empty spaces to change. Other than this, in the design of the glass cover, Vivian had also considered the problem of the light. She had cleverly changed the top part of the glass cover into a curved, opaque mirror. Although it was impossible to see the specific effects from the design, this design showed that she had considered the problem of the light source. This was something Sue-E had not taught her and Evita and Akali had not thought of it, so it could be seen that this was her own idea. Receiving Sue-Ye's praise, Vivian couldn't help revealing a proud expression. When she looked at Agnes, she slightly raised her head. Agnes didn't notice Vivian's small movements and carefully looked at the design Vivian had drawn. She shook her head. "No, this isn't beautiful enough." Sue-Ye's heart skipped a beat and he gave the design to her. "Then Agnes, follow this and try changing it according to the standards you have in your heart. Is that all right?" Agnes looked at Vivian. Vivian hesitated a bit. Although she was a bit unwilling, she still obediently nodded. So Agnes quickly finished a new design. This time she even made a few changes to the design Vivian had given her. After the changes, the design did indeed look a lot more beautiful and exquisite. Even Vivian, who was originally a little unconvinced, had to admit this point. But soon, Vivian discovered a few more problems and pointed them out without hesitation. Then, she drew a new design. Agnes gave her opinion on the design again and drew a new design. Vivian also found a few small problems, so she drew a new design. Agnes, the morning of the next day, Sui woke up on time. When he walked out of the room, he saw the designs scattered all over the living room. Agnes and Vivian were both sleeping on the table in the living room. Looking at the exhaustion on their sleeping faces, it was likely that they had fallen asleep very late. Sui couldn't help shaking his head. Last night he saw Agnes and Vivian arguing, so he wisely chose to retreat and go to sleep first. But looking at their current appearance, they might have been tossing and turning for an entire night. Sui looked at Agnes' beautiful face and couldn't help revealing a smile. It was fine if it was Vivian, but Agnes called herself 74 years old and still had the same temper. She even had the nerve to not let him call her a little girl. Sui carefully looked over the designs on the table, and he couldn't help giving a sigh of praise in his heart. Based on the situation of these blueprints, the two of them had gradually reached a consensus. In the end, not only were the magic lamps on the blueprints beautiful, they were also close to perfect. Even Sui couldn't see any problems with them. This kind of magic lamp design could already be considered a success, or it could be considered an excellent design. Sui casually took one out. He thought that if he made the magic lamp on it, it would attract the interest of most people. Not mentioning anything else, just based on this outstanding design, it was worth spending money to buy it. Looking at Agnes and Vivian, who were still sleeping, Sui revealed a faint smile. This really was wearing out iron shoes in a fruitless search, only to find it without any effort. When Sui entered the household magic machine workshop, he found that the magicians he hired yesterday had already started working. This was his first time seeing a magician drawing a magic array in the workshop in the morning, so Sui wasn't used to seeing this. The Baron Ricto Magic Academy students he hired before only came in the afternoon when they didn't have classes or when they were on vacation. Of course, their working hours couldn't compare to these full-time magicians. Moreover, Sui watched from the side for a bit and found that these magicians had a deeper understanding of magic arrays compared to the students. The students took around half an hour to finish the small frost array and the small flame array on the variable temperature magic air conditioner. Although these magicians had varying levels of skill, each one of them could reduce this time to around 20 minutes. This was their first day working, so they weren't very familiar with it. If they were familiar enough, they might have been able to reduce the time to around 10 minutes. The efficiency was higher, and the working hours were longer. In comparison, the effect of hiring these magicians was far greater than that of hiring students. Regarding this situation, the happiest one was of course Heinz. The household magic machine workshop's progress had always been limited by the efficiency of the magic arrays, and because the ones doing this were all students of the Baron Ricto Magic Academy, there was no way to ask them to increase their efficiency without caring about their studies. Even with Sui's recruitment, there weren't enough students who came to work here. This caused the household magic machine workshop's production to be unable to keep up, which made Heinz sigh. Moreover, the bigger problem was that as Sui kept having the magic machine workshop develop new magic machines, as well as improving the magic machines from before, the efficiency of the workers in the household magic machine workshop gradually increased. It even reached 2 or 3 times the initial efficiency. Correspondingly, the efficiency of the students drawing magic arrays was limited by their magic power, so they couldn't increase it at all. So like this, there was a phenomenon that Heinz felt helpless about. That was that when the workers finished making the magic rice cooker, magic air conditioner, and other parts, they had to wait for the students to draw the magic arrays before they could assemble them. This had a large impact on their efficiency. Now that these magicians had been hired, although there were only 9 of them, based on their efficiency, it was equal to 30 students. They had solved Heinz's urgent problem and allowed the workshop to operate more smoothly, greatly increasing their efficiency. It was no wonder that when he saw Sue, his face bloomed with a smile. Ha ha, Sue, I think that you don't need to recruit more magicians at all. As long as these people become skilled, we might not even need to hire those students. Sue looked at Hines, who was a bit pleased with himself and thought that this fellow's pettiness wouldn't change in this lifetime. Not to mention that these 9 magicians could leave at any time, even if it was for the future development of the company. They still needed to recruit large amounts of magicians. Other than completing the simple work of drawing magic arrays, the more important thing was to research the magic arrays used in the magic machines. Not mentioning anything else, just based on the changes that great magician Camilla and Still's group had made to the magic array of the variable temperature magic air conditioner, it had shrunk the appearance of the variable temperature magic air conditioner by half, reducing the cost of the magic air conditioner by a third. If there wasn't this change, Sue's estimated profit of the magic air conditioner would be around 13 to 15 gold coins per unit. But with this change, the profit had increased to close to 20 gold coins per unit. As the magic air conditioner became popular among the nobles and rich people of Banta City and the surrounding cities, New Flyer had already received over 1,000 orders. In short, just based on the magic air conditioner, New Flyer had earned a large profit of close to 20,000 gold coins this winter. A third of this large profit came from this small change. This was the power of scientific research. Chapter 118. After leaving the household magic machine workshop, Sue came to the magic machine workshop. After discussing it with Camby and the other dwarves, he quickly returned to his office with several blueprints. This office had already been expanded. Other than Sue occasionally using it for work, there was another room that was specially set aside for Wella's research lab. Sue opened the door and found that Wella was buried in a pile of materials, carefully reading through them. These materials were related to the magic machines New Flyer was currently producing. After Wella accepted Sue's employment, Sue didn't have her immediately research, rather he gave her a pile of materials to study first. Hearing the sound of the door opening, Wella looked up. Seeing that it was Sue, she gave him a simple nod and didn't greet him. Sue was already used to her indifference, and since he signed the confidentiality agreement with her last time, it was even more obvious. Wella, how do you feel? Do you have a general idea of our New Flyer's product designs? Sue didn't care about her attitude and sat down in front of her as he asked this. Wella was silent for a bit before giving a slight nod. I have a general idea. Sue. Chairman, after looking through these materials, I've found that Rem and I didn't lose in the Leo Chamber of Commerce at all. Why do you suddenly say this? Because the more I studied the materials you gave me, the more I found that in these magic machines, magic isn't the most important factor. Rather, the most important factor is the design and structure of the magic machines themselves. If it's just in terms of magic arrays, the magic arrays that Rem and I designed wouldn't lose to the magic arrays you designed, but when the power of these magic arrays is applied to the magic machines, because the design of the magic machines is too different, there is a large contrast. Sue looked at Wella in surprise, but he couldn't help revealing a trace of admiration in his eyes. Although this was simple, other than great magician Camilla and Steele, who had been studying it with Sue, the other magicians didn't realize this at all. In everyone's thoughts, they felt that the magic machines were strong because of the use of magic. They completely ignored the powerful mechanical engineering knowledge that Sue had brought from Earth. Wella was the first person to point this out in front of Sue. Even if Steele and the others understood, they might not be able to point it out as clearly as Wella. Congratulations, Weena. Recognizing this means that you're a step closer to becoming a magic machine designer. Sue said with a faint smile. Since you have this understanding, then I think I can really give you some practical work now. Sue took out a blueprint from his bosom and handed it to Wella. This is the blueprint for a certain part of the roll-forging magic press machine that I'm preparing to develop. What I need you to study is the magic array needed to power this part. Because the power source needed to be explosive, I felt that using explosive fire magic would be the most suitable choice. It's a good thing that you, Wella, are more proficient in fire magic, so I've decided to give this part to you to study. I've already written the specific requirements for this magic array on the blueprint, so you can study it with the design and parameters on the blueprint. Wella took the blueprint and was immediately shocked by the dense designs and numbers on the blueprint. She looked at the blueprint for a while before looking up to ask Sui, Chairman, when you designed the magic fan before, you didn't use such a complicated blueprint, right? Of course. Sui replied in a natural manner. The magic fan's technology is that low, how could it be compared to the roll-forging magic press machine? You should know that there is only a simple revolving wind array on the magic fan, but on this roll-forging magic press, there are a total of 11 magic arrays of 3 different grades in my preliminary design. Do you think it's the same? Wella looked at the blueprint in a daze before suddenly revealing a bitter smile. Chairman, I'm completely convinced of my loss. Sui revealed a smile and tapped on the blueprint twice before saying with a serious look, I don't care if you're convinced or not, but you have to properly design this magic array. This is your first job in our company, Wella, I don't want you to mess it up. Wella looked at Sui and gave a soft snort. Her eyes were filled with confidence again. Who do you think I am? ####. In order to finish the order for the 3,000 agricultural magic machines before the spring planting, Sui was so busy that his feet didn't touch the ground. After taking care of Wella's research, Sui immediately left the factory and returned to Banta City. He first went to see Sanchali, who was worrying about the problem of setting the magic array ahead of time. After saying a few words to him, he immediately went to the small yard Evita and Akali lived in. After seeing the new design of the magic lamp that Agnes and Vivian had made, Evita and Akali both called out in surprise. Sir President, who drew this painting? It's simply too beautiful. In her excitement, Akali even forgot to keep being cold to Sui. She pulled Sui's arm with a look of pleasant surprise as she exclaimed in surprise. Although Evita was more restrained than Akali, she still had an excited look on her face. Yes, Chairman, this magic lamp is too beautiful. If there really was this kind of magic lamp, no matter how much it costs, I will definitely buy one, Evita said in a certain voice. Are the two of you very interested in this magic lamp? You really want to buy it? Sui asked. Of course. The two nodded, replying in a certain voice. This is simply a work of art. Evita suddenly revealed an embarrassed look. Sir Chairman, since you had such a good design for the magic lamp, why didn't you tell me earlier? You made me give you such an ugly magic lamp. No, that magic lamp isn't ugly at all. Moreover, the magic lamp in this drawing was modified from the magic lamp you designed. Sui quickly comforted her. Other than that, I just got this drawing, so I didn't know about it before. Since the two of you are satisfied with the appearance of this magic lamp, it means that there is no need to worry about sales. Very good, it's been happily decided. Our new flyer's next product for the public will be this magic lamp. Great! I support you, Sir Chairman. Akali excitedly clapped her hand. When this magic lamp is made, I will definitely buy one. Sui snappily rolled his eyes at her. You are one of the designers of this magic lamp. Do you still need to buy one? Relax, when it's made, I'll make the decision to give you one. Akali gave a happy cheer, and even hugged Sui's arm as she shook it. She didn't have the depressed look she had when facing Sui from before. Seeing Akali's exaggerated appearance and Evita's happy expression, Sui couldn't help revealing a bitter smile. He worked hard to design all those powerful magic machines, but in the eyes of these little girls, they couldn't even compare to a trivial magic lamp. After saying goodbye to Evita and Akali, Sui headed to Great Magician Camilla's tower. Although New Flyer already had the Academy of Magic consisting of Steel, Evita, Akali, Wella, and Sanchali, which was enough to research magic arrays for magic machines. In order for Sui to incorporate the small agricultural magic machines into the production line, he had to develop a series of magic forging presses. Compared to the simple small magic forging presses that were used to make magic fans, magic rice cookers, and magic air conditioners, the magic forging presses that were used to make agricultural magic machines were much more complicated. Naturally, there were several times more magic arrays that needed to be researched. To finish this large amount of magic array research in a short period of time, it was impossible to just rely on Steele and the others. So Sui had already decided to ask for Great Magician Camilla's help when Camby and the others were discussing this. Putting aside the large amount of magic array research, the core of the magic forging presses required a very high driving force, so naturally the corresponding magic arrays were also very high. Although Sui had calculated that a 5th grade or 6th grade magic array could satisfy this requirement, just to be safe, Sui still planned on giving this core research to Great Magician Camilla. If Sui proposed this much research work to Great Magician Camilla before, he would have definitely been reprimanded by Great Magician Camilla. But after receiving the real gold coins from New Flyer and receiving the extra reward for his research, Great Magician Camilla felt the benefits of helping Sui with his research. Gradually, he didn't reject the work that Sui proposed. Not to mention that while helping Sui with his research work, Great Magician Camilla had a new understanding of magic arrays and magic, which increased his magic power by quite a bit. So every time he saw Sui, Great Magician Camilla no longer had that look of deep regret like before. It was like he hated iron for not becoming steel, but rather he always had a smile on his face, looking very amiable. But when he saw Sui this time, Great Magician Camilla's expression didn't change. He looked at Sui, who came in and gave a cold snort. Sui was a bit confused. He had left Banta City for over 10 days and this was his first time seeing Great Magician Camilla, so he shouldn't have done something to make him angry, right? Great Magician Camilla looked at the stunned Sui and gave another snort before saying in a deep voice, "I thought that after you became a 5th grade magician, your tail would be raised to the sky and you wouldn't even be willing to see me, but you still knew to come." Sui was even more confused. What did Great Magician Camilla mean? He had just arrived in the afternoon and came to see him the next morning, but he wasn't satisfied? Great Magician Camilla suddenly changed the topic. "Kid, do you know that when Steele learned that you were coming back yesterday, she was happy for several days? She even cooked a few dishes yesterday, and was waiting for you to come to my house for a meal. In the end, you ran to Evita and Akali's place as soon as you came back. What? Are those two girls prettier than Steele?" Sui didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He thought that it wasn't Great Magician Camilla who had opinions about him, but rather he was speaking on behalf of Steele. But Steele was even more confused. The reason why he went to Evita and Akali's place was to bring Vivian, who had been with them for the past few days, home. It wasn't like Steele didn't know about this, so why would she be angry about this? Your Excellency Great Magician, aren't you being insincere? Steele's charm isn't just known by everyone in Banta City, it has also spread to the surrounding cities. There are even many people who call her the Banta Goddess. If you say that she isn't beautiful, you are clearly lying through your teeth." Sui thought about it before replying with a few dry laugh. He quickly changed the topic and asked, "That's right, how did you know that I was already a 5th grade magician?" Great Magician Camilla gave another cold snort. He pointed at a thick book on the table and said, "Kid, you're famous now." Chapter 119. The famous that Great Magician Camilla mentioned was of course being famous in the magician circle. The thing on the table that looked like a magazine was the internal journal of the Sorcerers' Guild. Only great magicians and arch-magi would receive it regularly. So when Great Magician Camilla said that Sui was famous, it meant that many great magicians knew about him. There were only 27 arch-magi and 500 great magicians in the signs, so strictly speaking, Su-yi was only known by 500 people. To be honest, he couldn't be considered famous at all. Idiot! Great magician Camilla angrily glared at Su-yi. Arch-magi and great magicians are the top people in the magician circle, so if all the great magicians and arch-magi know about you, that is equal to all the magicians on the continent knowing about you. Could it be that this isn't famous enough? Su-yi looked at great magician Camilla in surprise. Really? Why would I lie to you? Great magician Camilla pointed at his feet. Great magician Camilla pointed at the ground. As long as I'm willing, everyone in this magic tower will know about this. If they spread this news, all the magicians in Banta City, and even the surrounding cities will know about this news. Let me tell you, this journal has an authoritative position in the hearts of all the magicians on the continent. Being able to appear in this journal, it's hard for you not to be famous. Su-yi scratched his chin, feeling a bit confused. Although it's rare to become a 5th-grade magician the first time, since this journal is this high class, I shouldn't be qualified to appear in it, right? Great magician Camilla shook his head. Of course it's not because you're a 5th-grade magician. Although there aren't many things like you, there are many magicians who participate in the exam each year, and there are some fellows who want to shock the world like you, so it isn't that strange. Moreover, this journal isn't like the Banta Times, that only reports on gossip, it only reports on things related to magic. You being able to appear in this journal is actually related to the written test you took during the 5th-grade exam. Written test answers? Su-yi remembered the situation of the written test and was still a bit confused. Why don't I feel that there's anything special about the answers? You don't feel that it's special? Great magician Camilla looked at Su-yi and asked this with a serious look. Seeing great magician Camilla's serious expression, Su-yi seriously thought about it before shaking his head. I don't. Great magician Camilla's expression became a bit strange. Su-yi, it seems like I've underestimated your talent. Come, let me show you the magician's evaluation. Su-yi took the thick journal that great magician Camilla threw to him and turned to the 7th page, according to his instructions. He found that the things written on this page were the magic array problems that he had encountered during the 5th-grade exam. Su-yi noticed that the author of this article was named Gordon Eisenkel. This name was a bit familiar to Su-yi. Thinking about it, he remembered that when he had just started working at great magician Camilla's magic tower, Salsa had mentioned this name before. She said that he was the richest great magician in the Lampari kingdom. And in this article, the richest great magician was praising the answers Su-yi left in the written exam. The magic arrays tested in the written test were only level 5 magic arrays. The questions posed were questions that extended from these magic arrays. Some specific requirements were put forward so that the magic arrays could be improved by the magicians taking the test. Su-yi had studied magic arrays to begin with, and in order to adapt to the requirements of the magic machines, he had spent most of his energy on changing the magic arrays to adapt to different requirements, so these questions were naturally a piece of cake for him. After the exam, the Sorcerers' Guild examiner had given Su-yi an evaluation that his answers had surpassed the standard of a 5th-grade magician, so he was allowed to pass the exam and become a 5th-grade magician. In this article, great magician Eisenkel had analyzed Su-yi's answers bit by bit, clearly explaining all the ideas that Su-yi had in his answers. This is completely a genius idea. By changing the arc of the array lines to change the density of the area where the magic array absorbs magic elemental energy, it can make a small change to the effect of the magic array. This is simply like making the magic array come alive. If we can spread this idea, we can even change any magic array as we wish, allowing the magic array to have the effect that we want it to have. I can say that Su-yi's research on magic arrays has already reached the realm of a master. Even I can't compare to him. Seeing great magician Eisenkel's generous praise, Su-yi's face turned a bit red. He had naturally thought of these answers, but he never thought that in the eyes of great magician Eisenkel, it would have such a shocking effect. It really was unexpected. After reading the article, Sui slightly knit his brows and asked Great Magician Camilla, "Your Excellency Great Magician, are you familiar with this Great Magician Eisenkel?" Great Magician Camilla shook his head. "No. We only know each other's names." "Then why does he praise me this much? I don't think I'm worthy of his praise. Seeing him praise me as a genius in this article, I'm a bit embarrassed." "There's no need to be embarrassed. After I saw the written test questions and your answers, I feel that his praise isn't exaggerated at all. Your creativity and ideas are indeed worthy of this praise." Great Magician Camilla said in an honest voice. "I still maintain my previous point of view. If you are willing to wholeheartedly study magic, perhaps you will surpass me in the future. You might even become the first Arch-Magus of the Lampari Kingdom." Sui gave a dry laugh. "Your Excellency Great Magician, there's no need to talk about this topic." Great Magician Camilla gave a snort before saying, "Of course, other than you being qualified to receive this kind of praise, I have to remind you. That fellow Eisenkel never does anything unnecessary, so you have to be careful." Sui slowly nodded. There was a saying, one who was unaccountably solicitous was hiding evil intentions. Even if his answers in the written test were shocking, it was still a written test for a fifth-grade magician. In a normal situation, it shouldn't have entered the eyes of a peak character like Great Magician Eisenkel. But Great Magician Eisenkel had singled out Suyi's answers, writing a passionate article in this important internal journal of the Sorcerers' Guild, praising him. If one said that he didn't have any other goals, Sui wouldn't believe it even if he was beaten to death. But Sui was very curious. He was only a small fifth-grade magician. What did he have that was worthy of this great magician's attention? Unless he cared about his status as the chairman of the New Flyer? Sui thought for a bit and couldn't get an answer, so he could only put this question aside for now. He began to focus on the main reason he came to see Great Magician Camilla this time. Hearing that Sui wanted to develop a series of magic machines at once and was only given a single month, Great Magician Camilla couldn't help knitting his brows. "Kid, you're not planning on giving me any time to study magic?" Sui gave a helpless sigh. "There's no other way. To complete His Majesty's order, I have to develop these magic machines. Otherwise, even if the dwarves went all out, they would only be able to complete the initial order of 3,000 small agricultural magic machines. If they want to complete the tens of thousands of agricultural magic machines that His Majesty wants, they might not be able to finish it in several years. Since you have to study it, of course it's better to do it as soon as possible. But these magic machines seem very complicated. Do you really think you can finish developing them in a single month?" Great Magician Camilla doubtfully asked. "Perhaps time is a bit tight, but I don't think it's a big problem." Sui paused before saying with a serious look, "Your Excellency Great Magician, it isn't just His Majesty who wants to realize his plan, I also want to do the same. If we can promote the agricultural magic machines during the harvest season, we can increase the kingdom's grain yield a season ahead of time. His Majesty is considering the citizens of the kingdom. Although I can't be that noble, I'm not willing to see people starve." Last time when I talked to Heinz about the turmoil in the kingdom, talking about how many people starved to death, a man like Heinz couldn't help shedding tears. I decided at that time to focus on developing magic machines that could increase the efficiency of agriculture. Great Magician Camilla was silent for a bit before giving a slight nod. "Your idea isn't bad. When you were invited to Satsuma Count's banquet a few days ago, Satsuma Count praised you and New Flyer. He said that with the help of the agricultural magic machines developed by New Flyer, large amounts of farmland near Banta City have been opened up. If nothing unexpected happens, Banta City's grain yield will greatly increase next year, and everyone will be able to fill their stomachs. Sue, do you know that because of this, Satsuma Count has given you and New Flyer a lot of support? Otherwise, New Flyer wouldn't have been able to develop this smoothly in Banta City. Sue nodded with a faint smile. The City Lord's people have taken care of me and my company, I'm very clear on this. Then he gave a laugh. But Your Excellency Great Magician, since the City Lord supports me this much, shouldn't you also support me? Great Magician Camilla snappily looked at Sue. Don't think of using Satsuma Count to pressure me, it's no use. But since you want to speed up the production of the agricultural magic machines, I'll agree to this. This time not only me, I will also ask the entire Magic Tower to fully support you in researching the magic arrays for the magic forging machines. Sue was instantly filled with joy. With Great Magician Camilla's guarantee, he had over 80% confidence in researching the magic forging machines this time. Chapter 120. 2 days later, New Flyer's factory on the outskirts of Banta City welcomed a special guest. Young Miss 70, please take a look. These 2 workshops are our New Flyer's current factories, and the building that is currently under construction is our new magic machine workshop. According to the deadline manager Riley gave, it should be ready to use within the month. Sue stood in the square outside the workshop and introduced it to 70 beside him. When Wayne Riley on the side heard Sue mention his name, he immediately revealed a smile and said with a nod, "Yes, if nothing unexpected happens, it should be ready at the end of the month." 70 looked at the magic machine workshop that was less than 1,000 square meters and then looked at the new workshop that was clearly 10 times bigger. She knit her brows and said, "Such a large building, it can be finished in a single month? Even if it's finished, it can't be used this quickly, right? Chairman Sue, aren't you in too much of a rush?" Sue gave a shrug. If it wasn't for Manager Riley insisting on guaranteeing the quality of the project and not tarnishing the Omra Guild's reputation, I would have even asked him to finish this project in the middle of the month. Manager Riley heard Sue unintentionally praise him and Manager Omra, so he was filled with joy. Based on how serious and respectful Sue was, although this young Miss 70 looked very young, she must be someone with quite a bit of status. If he could leave a good impression on her, whether it was Manager Riley or the Amsterdam Chamber of Commerce, it would be a good thing. Chairman Sue, although His Majesty's request is quite tight, I hope that you won't feel too much pressure because of this and cause an accident. If the workers are hurt because of this, His Majesty and I will feel unsettled. 70 looked at Sue with a sincere look. Sue was a bit surprised. He looked at 70 and found that her expression was very sincere, it didn't seem like she was being polite. After thinking about it, he said with a nod and a smile, "Relax, young Miss 70, I care very much about the safety of my workers. Also, I'm very confident in the abilities of the Amsterdam Chamber of Commerce and Manager Riley. There shouldn't be any accidents." Manager Riley immediately returned the favor. "Young Miss 70, you don't know this, but when it comes to the treatment of employees, New Flyer is the best. Not to mention that there isn't a single company in our Banta City that can compare, there isn't a single company in the entire Lampari Kingdom that can compare." 70 looked at Manager Riley and asked in an interested voice, "What is the treatment of the New Flyer's employees? Why do you think it's so good?" Manager Riley glanced at Sue. Seeing that he didn't say anything, he smiled and said, "Let's not talk about anything else. Just the workers in New Flyer only have 8 hours a day. No other Chamber of Commerce can compare to this. 8 hours a day." 70 looked at Sue in surprise. "Chairman Sue, is this true?" Sue nodded with a faint smile. 70 of course knew that Sue wouldn't lie to her about something that could be easily found out, so she was even more surprised. "Why is there this rule? Although the employees also need to rest, Don't you think it's too little to only have 8 hours of fixed working time? You give the employees that much time to rest. Don't you think that their wages are a bit of a waste? Su Yi's expression was a bit strange. He thought that because there were too many orders in New Flyer, the workers had to work overtime every day. If this was on Earth, he would be cursed as an unscrupulous capitalist, but he never thought that he would be accused of giving the workers too much time to rest, wasting their wages. Young Miss Seveny, the workers are also people. Other than work, they should have their own private time. Actually, Manager Riley isn't right. Because the company has been too busy recently, the workers have to work overtime every day, so they don't have that much time to rest. Without waiting for Seveny to speak, Manager Riley couldn't help saying, "Come on, Chairman Su. Your Chamber of Commerce's workers don't even want to work overtime. When my workers heard your workers mention their overtime pay, some of them even wanted to jump ship to your Chamber of Commerce." Overtime pay? Seveny was surprised again. What is that? It's outside of the set 8 hours of work. If you want the workers to work, you have to give them extra pay. This pay is called overtime pay. Su Yi explained. Seveny looked at Su Yi with a strange look. Chairman Su, you really are a strange chairman. Your new flyer is also very strange. This is my first time hearing that the company's employees have overtime pay. That's right, Chairman Su. Can I take the liberty to ask the employees of your company, what is the monthly wage of the workers? There's nothing to be presumptuous about. It's not a secret. Su Yi said with a smile. If it's a set 8 hours of work and there's no overtime, the workers of these 2 workshops will have a wage of around 8 gold coins. As for these 2 months, because there's a lot of overtime, it's around 10 to 16 gold coins. That much? Seveny's eyes opened wide. After thinking about it, she turned to Manager Riley to ask, "Mr. Riley, can I ask what your workers' monthly wage is?" Manager Riley gave a bitter laugh and looked at Su Yi with a bit of bitterness. After hesitating for a bit, he hesitantly replied, Different jobs have different wages. Right now it's around 8 gold coins a month." Seeing the strange look in Seveny's eyes, Manager Riley couldn't help explaining, "Our Amsterdam Chamber of Commerce's price is already high enough. The other workers who build houses like us only get 6 gold coins a month. Young Miss Seveny, you can't compare our company to New Flyer." Chairman Su, What's wrong with me? Su Yi asked with a smile. Under the gazes of Su Yi and Seveny, Manager Riley gave a dry laugh for a while. He knew that he couldn't hide in the end, so he lowered his voice and said, Chairman Su, young Miss Seveny, you can't say that I said this. Actually, when the big bosses of many companies in Banta City talk about Chairman Su in private, they all say that Chairman Su is a complete prodigal. Prodigal? Su Yi couldn't help laughing. Giving workers a higher wage is prodigal? I think that they are too stingy, right? Manager Riley waved his hand. Chairman Su, you can't speak nonsense. Actually, if I had to say it, you are indeed a bit of a prodigal. They are just normal workers. Is there a need to give them such a high wage? Not to mention that your new flyer is giving workers such a high wage. What do you want the other companies of Banta City to do? Do you know that the workers under me have protested to me several times? If it wasn't for Chairman Cruz agreeing to increase their wages, those workers would have already quit. Su Yi looked at the angry Manager Riley and thought that these words weren't Manager Riley's idea, but rather Chairman Cruz's idea. It could be considered a small warning from the other companies of Banta City. Su Yi didn't care about this at all. Compared to him, these fellows were the real capitalists that squeezed the blood and sweat of their workers. Of course, in signs, these fellows' methods were normal. Su Yi's methods were a bit strange, so it was expected that these people would object. But Su Yi didn't plan on changing according to their ideas. Based on the history of industrial development on Earth, Suppressing the wages of workers wasn't an appropriate method because this would go against the laws of economic development and would suppress economic development. If the public didn't have enough economic ability to buy products, it meant that the market wasn't active enough. It would affect the flow of products and affect the profits of the companies that sold them, creating a vicious cycle. But for New Flyer to increase the wages of workers, it would allow the workers to have enough economic ability to satisfy the basic needs of their families while also having the ability to buy other products. It would promote the flow of products and increase economic development. For example, the 200 human workers working in the household magic machine workshop. Because they received a wage of 10 gold coins from the Frestec Chamber of Commerce each month, not only did their families' living standards greatly improve, they even had extra money to buy some toys for their children. Even if these toys weren't produced by New Flyer, the company that produced these toys would gain benefits from this. It would allow this company to gain more profits and create more jobs, increasing the income of another group of people. If this cycle continued, New Flyer would also benefit from this. Take the magic fan for example. Actually, a single magic fan only costs 2 gold coins. If the average income of Banta City's workers could reach the level of the household magic machine workshop workers, then each family would have the ability to buy one. Like this, just in a small Banta City, the Shinfei brand magic fans could be sold in the tens of thousands. It wouldn't be like this summer where they only sold a few thousand. Sui felt that people like Chairman Cruz wouldn't understand these principles, so he didn't plan on wasting time explaining these principles to them. The best method was to directly do it. Only when the benefits were presented to them would they be able to understand. As for now, Sui didn't plan on changing his methods. After quickly thinking about this, Sui paused before saying to Manager Riley with a smile, "It's good that you don't want to do it anymore. Our company is currently preparing to expand our production scale, so we're planning on recruiting some more workers. If your workers don't want to work anymore, I welcome them to join our company." Manager Riley's expression changed. "Chairman Su, what do you mean by this?" Sui laughed and patted Manager Riley's shoulder as he said, "There's no meaning, it's just a joke. Be assured, Manager Riley, please tell Chairman Cruz that since our New Flyer has joined the business union, we definitely won't make it hard for everyone. Since the wages of the workers have increased, it's impossible for it to fall for no reason. But in other aspects we can cooperate more. As long as everyone earns gold coins, even if we give our workers a higher wage, it isn't something that is hard to accept, don't you think?" Manager Riley looked at Sui with an uncertain expression. This Sui, was he making sarcastic remarks? Chapter 121. When Manager Riley found an excuse to leave, Seveny looked at Sui with a smile with a different meaning. "Chairman Su, it seems like you don't have a good relationship with your peers in Banta City?" Sui laughed and pretended to be confused as he said in a surprised voice, "Young Miss Seveny, what are you saying? Our Banta City's large companies are all good partners in the union, how could we not have a good relationship? You must have misunderstood something." Seveny revealed a smile, and didn't waste time on this question. She turned to look at the magic machine workshop that Sui had shown her, and after thinking for a bit, she said, "Chairman Su, you just said that you're planning on spending a month to develop some new magic machines to increase the efficiency of the agricultural magic machines, but are you confident in developing these magic machines?" "Of course," Sui firmly replied. "Our New Flyer already has a lot of experience in developing magic machines, and now we have great magician Camilla as our strong backing, so I firmly believe that this research will succeed." Seveny shook her head. "Chairman Su, you're not telling the truth. From the information I've gathered in Banta City in the past few days, the most important thing for New Flyer is you as the chairman. Whether it is the magic fan at first or the agricultural magic machines that the agriculture department cares about, these magic machines were all created by you and played a key role in them. So I don't want to ask if your new flyer can do this or not, rather I want to ask, are you confident in this? Sui looked at Seveni and found that the expression on her face was very sincere, without a trace of falsehood. It made people unable to help believing her word. Young Miss Seveni, if even I as the chairman don't have confidence, our new flyer might as well disband as soon as possible. Don't you think so? Sui asked back. Seveni looked at the smile on Sui's face for a while before giving a slight nod. I hope that Chairman Su will always be this confident. Alright, I believe that you can develop the new magic machines in a month and you'll be able to mass-produce the agricultural magic machines like you expected. But Chairman Su, I still have a question about the mass production you mentioned. According to what you said, after mass production, the output of the agricultural magic machines will increase by several times. But like this, will the quality of the agricultural magic machines be maintained? I feel that for anything, if you want to maintain the quality, it's better to keep improving. The idea of keeping improving is good, but young Miss Seveni, you're using this idea in the wrong place. Changing the manual production of agricultural magic machines to mechanization and mass production was a completely different method. Although the output will increase, the quality won't decrease like you said. If you strictly control the specifications, the quality of the agricultural magic machines produced will be higher than the ones made by hand. Sui pointed at the household magic machine workshop on the other side and said, You just saw the comparison between the first batch of magic fans and the last batch of magic fans in that workshop. Which magic fan do you think is better? Of course it's because the quality of the last batch of magic fans is much better. Seveni replied without any hesitation. Seveni said without any hesitation, just like you saw, although the first batch of magic fans were made by hand by the skilled craftsmen of Banta City, the quality is far inferior to the last batch of magic fans that were made from the various magic machines. Although humans are more flexible than machines when it comes to mass production, you have to admit that humans are far inferior to machines. If His Majesty only needed 3,000 agricultural magic machines, perhaps I could have the more skilled dwarven craftsmen make them by hand, but His Majesty's final request was 30,000 units or even more. Other than relying on the power of machines, there's no other way. Seveni thought for a bit before giving a slight nod. Perhaps you're right. But before I see the real products, I still have my doubts. I hope that Chairman Su won't disappoint me. Relax, I promise you won't be disappointed. Sui replied with a smile. After pausing, he continued, Young Miss Seveni, I think that you should know that the workers in charge of producing the agricultural magic machines are mainly the dwarves. Can you help me solve a problem? Chairman Su, there's no need to be polite. My main task here is to help the new flyer complete His Majesty's orders. As long as your request can help with these orders, I can raise it. Seveni said with a smile. That's good. Sui wasn't polite as he continued, although the dwarves of the company have been working here for several months, because they are dwarves, they haven't obtained the qualifications to become citizens of the kingdom, so it's quite inconvenient for them to live here. Young Miss Seveni, can you help solve this problem? The kingdom's laws say that as long as races other than humans meet certain conditions, they can become citizens of the kingdom. I believe that Chairman Su should know about this, right? Seveni asked back. There are indeed these rules, but young Miss Seveni, you should know that these rules are very strict. If the dwarves want to become citizens, not only do they have to live here for a certain period of time, they also have to pay strict taxes. They can't meet these conditions without at least 8 to 10 years. If the dwarves wait for 8 to 10 years, our new flyer might have already disappeared by then. Chairman Su, are you joking? Seveni looked at Sui. New flyer has such good prospects, how could it not last for 8 to 10 years? As for your request, I'm afraid I can't agree to it. These rules are written in the kingdom's laws. It can't be changed for the 200 dwarves of your new flyer. I'm not asking to change the laws, and I'm not hoping that the kingdom will immediately recognize them as citizens. I just want to make it easier for them to live here, so I hope that they can be given a special certificate. For example, a worker's certificate. Sui said. Worker's certificate? Seveni looked at Sui in surprise. What does that mean? The worker's certificate is for races other than citizens of the kingdom, including humans from other countries. People with the worker's certificate are hired by a company in the Lampari kingdom. When the worker's certificate is in effect, they can stay in the Lampari kingdom, work, and live a normal life. To put it simply, people with the worker's certificate can be considered temporary citizens of the Lampari kingdom, but they will be restricted by the company they work for. If there is a problem with these people, the kingdom can directly take responsibility for the company that hired them. When the worker's certificate is up, these people's temporary citizenship will be cancelled. If they want to keep it, they can only apply again and receive approval from the kingdom. Sui patiently explained. Seveni looked at Sui in surprise. This idea isn't bad, but how can we guarantee that these people will be under the kingdom's jurisdiction? I said it just now, these people can only enjoy this right because of their employment relationship with the company. Other than supervising these people, the kingdom's officials just need to keep an eye on those companies. I think that our Lampari kingdom's companies will care about their own feathers, right? Seveni thought about it and couldn't help slowly nodding. This idea isn't bad, but Chairman Su, you've forgotten a problem. Whether it is issuing the worker's certificate or doing the qualification checks, the kingdom needs to create a related department, so the human resources needed aren't small. With the kingdom's current financial situation, I feel that whether it is His Majesty or the kingdom's parliament, it will be hard to pass this proposal. No money? Isn't that simple? Sui laughed. You need to pay to apply for the worker's certificate, and while the worker's certificate is in effect, the company that hires these people will have to pay a late fee each year. The amount will depend on the situation. Young Miss Seveni, do you think that His Majesty and the kingdom's parliament will pass this? Seveni looked at Sui with a strange look, and after being stunned for a bit, she slowly said, Chairman Su, I suddenly feel that you shouldn't be a merchant. Wouldn't it be better for you to go into politics? Sui waved his hand. I am a rotten merchant who is covered in the stench of money, so forget about going into politics. Young Miss Seveni, this means that you think there is hope in my proposal? If you pay like you said, I think it'll be much easier to pass. Seveni said with a nod. Seveni nodded. But Chairman Su, according to what you said, there aren't many humans and other races in the kingdom that meet the conditions you mentioned. How much are you planning on paying for the 200 dwarves of your company to obtain these rights for them? Other than that, other than your new flyer, there should be some similar situations. If this bill is passed, what if the other companies aren't willing to pay? Isn't that simple? They won't be able to enjoy the benefits if they don't apply for the worker's certificate, and everything will be the same as before. As for our new flyer, it's like Manager Riley said, because the chairman is a prodigal, he has nothing better to do than to apply for these workers' certificates for his workers. Sui gave a shrug as he spoke in a relaxed manner. Seveni gave a laugh before asking with a serious expression, what is the answer to the first question? How much is your new flyer planning on paying? The exact amount will be decided after your kingdom's officials discuss it, but I can tell you the bottom line of our company. Sui raised his hand. 5 gold coins per worker, what do you think? 5 gold coins. Seveni's beautiful eyes opened a bit wider. She took a deep breath and looked at Sui with an emotional gaze. Chairman Su, you really are good to your workers. Chapter 122. Seveni felt that it was too much to spend 5 gold coins on a worker's permit, but Sui felt that it was already very little. On Earth, not to mention applying for a foreign worker's permit, even if one was a citizen of China, Applying for a Hong Kong or Macau worker's permit would cost quite a bit, easily reaching several thousand gold coins. In terms of purchasing power, it was equal to several dozen gold coins here. Of course, Sui wouldn't tell 70 about this. There were already over 200 dwarves working for the Frestec Chamber of Commerce, and if nothing unexpected happened, there would be even more dwarves. The Frestec Chamber of Commerce might even hire elves and beastmen in the future. With so many foreign workers, of course they would save a bit on the permit. Other than obtaining the permit from 70, Sui also obtained some good news from her. In the agreement with the king had used several mines to pay for the agricultural magic machines. Sui thought that it would take a long time to complete this contract, so it would take a while for the mines to arrive. However, 70 told Sui that the kingdom's mining department had already cleared out one of the iron mines in Banta City, and Sui could take it at any time. According to the agreement between Sui and the king, as long as New Flyer completed the first batch of orders, the contract would automatically take effect, and this iron mine would belong to New Flyer. As for the other iron mine and 3 magic crystal mines, that would depend on how New Flyer completed the following orders. Although the future was filled with variables, at least this iron mine was already in the bag for New Flyer. Moreover, in the process of the agreement, because iron mines weren't that valuable in the signs, the king and the representative of the agriculture department had given a very low discount to these 2 iron mines. Sui was very clear that once the magic machine industry developed in the signs, the demand for iron ores would greatly increase. When that time came, the price of iron ores would soar. As for the magic crystal mines, there were too many magic crystals on the signs and magic crystals weren't worth much, so the price of these 3 magic crystal mines added together couldn't compare to a single iron mine. But Sui was very certain that with the development of the magic machine industry, the magic machines would be widely used in the signs. The demand for magic crystals would greatly increase, and the price of magic crystals would greatly increase. Right now it seemed like the king had exchanged 2 iron mines and 3 magic crystal mines for several tens of thousands of agricultural magic machines worth close to 3 million gold coins from New Flyer, taking quite a bit of advantage. But Sui knew better than anyone that New Flyer had made a large profit from this transaction. Thinking that he would be able to rest easy just by relying on these mines in the future, Sui's mood was naturally very good. When he saw Chairman Mun Cruz of the Amsterdam Chamber of Commerce, he had a wide smile on his face, as if he had already forgotten what Manager Riley had said before. "Chairman Su, it's rare for you to take the initiative to meet me. I really am very happy. But why did you come to the construction site?" Chairman Cruz pointed at the construction site that had just finished laying the foundation and was preparing to build a wall. "It's such a cold day. We should find a better place to have a few drinks and chat more." What made Chairman Cruz the most curious was that Sui didn't invite him to the construction site of the New Flyer's workshop that was nearing completion, rather it was a small construction site on the outskirts of Banta City. Moreover, he had specially requested that other than Manager Riley, there was no one else with him. There are many chances to drink and chat, but Chairman Cruz, if you miss the chance in front of you, there won't be many more. Sui gave Chairman Cruz a mysterious smile before taking out a heavy cloth bag from the horse carriage he had personally driven, throwing it in front of Chairman Cruz and Manager Riley. "What is this thing?" The two looked at the cloth bag in surprise. Sui smiled without replying and asked Manager Riley, "Manager Riley, when your workers are building the wall, what do they use to connect the bricks?" Manager Riley was confused, not understanding why Sui would ask this question. He hesitantly looked at Chairman Cruz and seeing him nod, he replied, "It's just some lime powder and sand mixed together to make a mud, there's nothing special about it." Sui pointed at the cloth bag on the ground, "Then try using this thing to replace the lime powder." Manager Riley opened the bag in confusion, and after taking a look, he immediately said in a surprised voice, "Chairman Su, this is..." This thing is called cement. It's a bit like lime powder. Try it, it should be much better than lime powder, Sui said. Manager Riley reached into the cloth bag and fished out a handful of cement. He casually rubbed it, and fine powder fell from his hand. As a supervisor who had worked on the construction site for many years, starting from the most ordinary worker, Manager Riley only needed to touch it to know that this thing probably had extremely special characteristics. Not to mention other things, just the fine particles of this powder far surpassed the lime powder they normally used on the construction site. After rubbing it a few times, Manager Riley didn't waste any more words. He picked up the shovel that Sui had already prepared beforehand and shoveled out the cement. He poured it into the fine sand on the side and added water to it before carefully mixing it. Manager Riley wasn't the only one who was surprised when he saw the cement, sand, and water gradually mixed together. Even Chairman Cruz's eyes gradually revealed a strange expression. As the chairman of the Amsterdam Chamber of Commerce, Chairman Cruz could naturally see the uniqueness of the cement. After mixing it evenly, Manager Riley picked up a brick and skillfully smeared plaster on it before firmly placing it on the wall. He didn't even need to wait for the cement to dry. Just by feeling it, Manager Riley felt that the plaster mixed with cement was far better than the plaster mixed with lime powder. After seeing Manager Riley use up the plaster and lay 2 layers of walls, Chairman Cruz looked at Sui with a deep frown. Chairman Su, what's the meaning of this? Sui smiled relaxedly. Nothing. I just happened to find a cement formula in an ancient book, so I wanted 2 experts in this field to appraise it. Of course, the 2 of them didn't believe Sui's nonsense. What kind of ancient book recorded this kind of thing? Even if there was, how could they, who had been in the construction industry for their entire lives, not know? However, this wasn't the time to be serious with Sui. Chairman Cruz pondered for a long time and said in a deep voice, Chairman Su, we're both smart people. Let's not beat around the bush. I admit that I'm very interested in this cement. If you're willing to hand over the formula, we can talk about any conditions. Sui put on a fake smile. Chairman Cruz, aren't you being too insincere? Hand over the formula? Do you think that's possible? Chairman Cruz was silent. Of course, he knew that Sui would never agree to his request. However, the performance of this cement was too good. He couldn't help but be tempted. After thinking for a while, Chairman Cruz spoke again. Okay, Chairman Su, state your conditions. Since you specially invited me here, you obviously want to cooperate with me, right? Of course. Otherwise, why would I waste my time? Sui pointed at the cement on the ground that wasn't used up and said, I won't hide it, Chairman Cruz. This cement is something that our Frestec Chamber of Commerce has just finished developing, and we've just started mass producing it. I asked you to meet because I wanted to tell you that now that such a thing has appeared, I wonder if your Amsterdam Chamber of Commerce is interested? Chairman Cruz coldly snorted. Chairman Su, don't ask a question you already know the answer to. How much do you plan on selling this cement? How much do you want to sell to our Amsterdam Chamber of Commerce? Of course, we're all friends of the union. I hope that the price you're offering isn't too excessive. Sui laughed. Chairman Cruz, what kind of person do you think I, Sui, am? My price for this cement is 6 gold coins per ton. Do you think that's fair? Only 6 gold coins. Chairman Cruz and Manager Riley cried out at the same time. This is too, fortunately, the 2 of them were astute people. They reluctantly swallowed back the words, too cheap. But from the shocked expression on their faces, it was clear that they were shocked by this price. It had to be known that even lime powder had a market price of over 6 gold coins per ton. The performance of this cement was clearly far superior to lime powder. The 2 of them were already mentally prepared for Sui to offer a sky-high price, but they didn't think that Sui would actually offer the same price as lime powder. This price was obviously too cheap. This, Chairman Su, is what you said true? After a while, Chairman Cruz asked in disbelief. Of course it's true. Why would I lie to you? Sui said with a smile. How about it? Do you think this price is fair? Fair. Fair. Of course it's fair. Chairman Cruz nodded again and again, as if he was afraid that Sui would go back on his word. After a pause, he said, But Chairman Su, seeing that we are all friends of the Union, I have a small request that I hope you can agree to. Please speak. Since you said that this cement has just started to be produced in large quantities, then presumably the output isn't very high. Since it's like this, then no matter how much cement your Chamber of Commerce produces, our Ram Chamber of Commerce will take it all. Moreover, I can also give you a bit of a raise on the price. 6.5 gold coins per ton. What do you think? Sui made a difficult expression. After thinking for a while, he slowly nodded. All right, Chairman Rank has already said that we are all friends of the Union. We must help each other. For this reason, the cement produced by our new flyer in the next 2 years will only be supplied to your Ram Chamber of Commerce. Other than this, I will also provide you with many uses for the cement, for example, reinforced concrete. Hearing that Sui only agreed to 2 years, Chairman Cruz and Manager Riley were a bit disappointed. But when they heard Sui say reinforced concrete, their eyes lit up at the same time. Since it was something that Sui specially proposed, it must have an extraordinary function. As long as the Amsterdam Chamber of Commerce could grasp the uses of cement ahead of time, the Amsterdam Chamber of Commerce would be able to soar in the construction industry. Perhaps they could even leave Banta City and become one of the top construction guilds in the Lampari Kingdom. Chapter 123. After saying goodbye to Chairman Cruz's group, Sui drove his horse carriage into Banta City alone. When he came to a secluded place, the space around Sui slightly distorted. There was a fragrant breeze, and there was an extra person sitting in the seat beside him. Chairman Su, when you said to those two that you wanted their company to help build a river, were you talking about our tribe's river? Agnes looked at Sui with an expectant look as she asked this. Do you think that I need to build a dam for another river? Sui asked back with a smile. This means that you're really planning on helping us? Agnes' expression instantly became excited. Sui helplessly shook his head. Young Miss Agnes, I never said that I wouldn't help you. So you never believed me from beginning to end. Agnes slightly lowered her head and said in an embarrassed voice, Sorry, the tribe's elders have taught me since I was young that I can't trust humans. You elves really are prejudiced against us humans, Sui said with a sigh. Although I admit that there are many cunning people among us humans, there are also many people who pay attention to integrity, such as me. After you elves have been tricked by humans several times, you want to kill all of us humans with a stick. This is just too prejudiced. Agnes shook her head. Not only have we been tricked a few times, I've heard the elders say that in the history of us elves, we have been tricked countless times by humans. So we elves have a common understanding that we can't trust humans. After pausing, Agnes asked with a doubtful look, Chairman Su, actually I'm very curious. Why is it that even though you humans are the same race, each human is different? Sui rolled his eyes and snappily said, Could it be that you elves are all the same? For example, are they all as naive as single-celled organisms like you? I really don't understand what your tribe's elders are thinking, actually sending you out to ask for help from other races. They aren't afraid that others will sell you out. Agnes blinked with a look of confusion on her face. Chairman Su, what is a single-celled organism? Do you think I'm naive? Sui shook his head. He was too lazy to argue with this little elf girl about these issues. He said, All right, you heard it just now. I asked the Amsterdam Chamber of Commerce to help me modify the river embankment. However, whether it is to familiarize themselves with the characteristics of cement, to master the usage of the concrete I just taught them, or even to develop a concrete mixer, it will take some time. Therefore, it is temporarily impossible to change the water shortage of your race. That's right, Agnes. Have you ever thought of using underground water? Although the river has changed its course, the underground water wouldn't change its course easily. The falling rainforest is rich in vegetation, so the underground water should also be abundant. Underground water. Agnes thought for a bit before replying. The elders also tried, digging a deep well like you humans to use underground water, but after we dug several meters deep, we found that the ground was filled with very thick rocks and we couldn't dig any further. That's because you've encountered an underground rock formation. According to my experience, as long as you penetrate the rock layer, you will be able to open up the underground water source. Could it be that you're giving up like this? Sui then asked. A trace of sadness appeared on Agnes' face. The elders said that the rock underground is very thick and they can't penetrate it with their abilities. If they want to open it, even a high-level earth magician wouldn't be able to do it. I'm afraid they would need an earth magus to use a forbidden spell. But an arch-magus is a peak existence even among you humans. Not to mention inviting him, we can't even see him. That isn't certain. Sui revealed a faint smile. As long as you can give him enough benefits, even an arch-magus can be invited. Agnes said in a helpless voice, but our tribe can't take out any rewards to move an arch-magus. Perhaps it's just that you haven't discovered your own value. For example, Agnes, just based on you, I can see that you have a special value. Sui looked at Agnes with a deep gaze as he spoke. Agnes pointed at herself in a daze. Me? I'm just a normal elf, what kind of special value do I have? Sui laughed. You don't know now, but you'll understand in the future. As for solving your tribe's water problem, after hearing what you just said, I suddenly thought of a way to help you solve it for now. Agnes' eyes instantly lit up. Really? What is it? Patiently wait for a bit and I'll give you an answer, Sui said. Agnes didn't ask any more and just looked at Sui with sparkling eyes. There was no longer any doubt in her eyes from before. Unknowingly, she had already begun to trust this human she hadn't interacted with for long. ####. The horse carriage stopped in front of a secluded small courtyard in the city. Sui jumped out of the horse carriage and pushed open the door to walk in. He saw Steele standing in the small garden behind the small courtyard, wearing a light purple dress. She was holding a magic lamp that Master Lanus, Camby, and the other dwarves had made yesterday. She had her head slightly lowered and her expression was calm, as the corners of her lips curled slightly. With just a glance, Suyi's heart couldn't help skipping a beat. Steele was already beautiful and now that she had this appearance, her dazzling aura had suddenly become calm. This large contrast gave Sui a different kind of shock. Once still calmed down, with the light purple dress she was wearing, it made her entire aura seem like it had been sublimated. Just based on her current appearance, she was worthy of being called the Banta Goddess. Not far away from Steele, Master Anlios had a large canvas in front of him. He was currently focused on painting this moving scene in front of him. Sui knew that Master Anlios was currently immersed in the world of painting. He looked from afar and saw that the painting was almost finished, so he silently stood on the side, not daring to disturb him. The painting took over half an hour to finish. Although Sui felt that it wasn't boring to admire Steele's rare and beautiful appearance, his legs were a bit sore from standing. When he finally saw Master Anlios finish the final stroke, he put away his brush and quickly walked over. Looking at the painting, Sui couldn't help praising it. The painting almost perfectly replicated Steele's current beautiful appearance. Although it couldn't compare to the real person, it was still vivid enough. As long as anyone saw this painting, they would immediately be attracted by Steele. But after looking at it for a while, Sui found a problem. Steele in this painting was indeed moving and attracting people's eyes, but all their attention was on Steele. Perhaps not many people would notice the magic lamp in Steele's hand. It had to be known that Sue asked Master Anlios to paint this painting in order to advertise the magic lamp that new flyer was about to release. If this painting was hung up, it would be advertising Steele and not the magic lamp. Chairman Sue, as long as young Miss Steele can attract enough attention, people will naturally notice the magic lamp in her hand. I don't think there will be any problem. You worry too much. Master Anlios didn't care about Sue-Yi's concerns. At this time, Steele also came over and looked at the painting. After thinking for a while, she said to Master Anlios, "Master, I think Sue-Yi is right. You should emphasize the magic lamp more. If you really can't, you can make my face blurry." Master Anlios shook his head. "How can that be? Miss Steele, you are so beautiful. If you blur your face, it will be like taking the sun out of the sky. The whole painting will lose its meaning." "No, I don't agree with that." "Yes, I agree with that. Steele, if your face is blurred, why would I ask you to be the model? You can just find someone else." Sue-Yi thought for a while and said, "Master Anlios, I don't mean to blur Steele's presence, but to emphasize the magic lamp. After all, this painting is to advertise the magic lamp, so it needs to be highlighted first." "Yes, I'm just a foil." Steele laughed. Hearing both of them say this, Master Anlios frowned helplessly. He thought for a while and added a few more strokes on the canvas. Although it was only a few strokes, the magic lamp in Steele's hand immediately became much more conspicuous, which showed his skill as a painting master. Sue looked at it for a while and still felt a little unsatisfied. But he knew nothing about painting, so he couldn't tell what was wrong with it. Seeing that Sue still had some doubts, Master Anlios's expression became cold. "Chairman Sue, this is the best I can do for this painting. If you are not satisfied, I can draw another one, but you will have to pay extra." Sue looked at him and felt a bit dissatisfied. But this Master Anlios was the most famous painter in Banta City, so other than him, Sue couldn't find someone else to replace him. Moreover, he had worked with the new flyer many times before and they had a good relationship. Sue didn't want to ruin this relationship because of a disagreement. "There's no need to draw another one. This one is quite good, so it'll be this one." Sue thought about it before saying this. Master Anlios's expression finally relaxed. "All right, then Chairman Sue, this job can be considered finished." Sue squeezed out a smile and shook hands with Master Anlios before watching him leave. After Uncle Anlios left, Steele looked at Sue-Yi's expression and said, "Sue-Yi, I've heard that Karma City has a famous painter. How about we try looking for him?" Sue shook his head. "You're talking about Master Cassidon, right? I've asked around and this Master Cassidon's painting skills can't compare to Master Anlios. If we look for him, it's equal to breaking off relations with Master Anlios, so this isn't a good choice." Steele knit her brows. After thinking about it, she said with a sigh, "It's a pity that Banta City is a small city and we can't find a better choice. If it was in Anvilmar City, we would be able to find even more artists than Master Anlios. There's no other way, this is reality." Sue picked up the painting Master Anlios had just drawn and after looking at it for a while, he gave a satisfied nod. It's quite good. Although it's a bit of a failure as an advertisement, as a portrait of you, Steele, it's quite outstanding. You see, this painting captures your demeanor very accurately. I think that, if anyone who doesn't know you saw this painting, they would definitely think that you're a quiet and elegant beauty." "Think?" Steele knit her brows and her eyes popped out. "What do you mean?" Sue laughed and didn't explain at all. Steele couldn't help throwing a punch at him in anger. Who would have thought that when Steele's fist was halfway through, the space beside them suddenly distorted and a figure suddenly appeared. They quickly reached out and grabbed Steele's arm. "You're not allowed to hurt him." Agnes' voice came from under the cloak. Hearing the voice of a young girl, Steele couldn't help being even more surprised. She looked at Agnes and asked Sue, "Who is she?" Sue was also surprised by Agnes' sudden appearance, But after hearing Steele's question and seeing Agnes covered in the cloak, he suddenly had an idea. Got it. Chapter 124. Banta City under the cover of night was not as lively as it was during the day. Other than some shops that were still open at night, the entire city seemed to have gradually fallen into a deep sleep. If one looked down from the sky, it would be completely dark with only a few places lit up. It wasn't like the cities on Earth that were still lit up at night. In these places that were lit up, Su Yi's home was also included. It was different from normal candles. On the table in the living room of Su Yi's home, there was a magic lamp placed on it. The faint green light released through the light green glass not only lit up the entire room, it also lit up Still, who had her head lowered like she was deep in thought with an arm supporting her head. Seeing that Steele didn't have any spots under the light, looking at her white and tender skin that didn't have any blemishes, Su Yi couldn't help praising, Steele, actually I feel that you can become the spokesperson for the Chanel Chamber of Commerce. With your outstanding skin as an advertisement, I guarantee that the Chanel Chamber of Commerce's perfumes and powders will sell even more than before. Although Steele didn't move and the expression on her face didn't change, she gave a soft snort and said, "There's no use trying to please me. If you don't tell me why this elf is following you, I won't forgive you." Su Yi looked at Agnes, who was sitting in front of Steele with a drawing board in her hand, concentrating on drawing. He replied with a bitter smile, "Didn't I tell you at dinner that she came to find me to solve the problem of her tribe? The reason why she's following me is to wait for me to take care of the matters here before bringing me to her tribe. Don't you think so, Agnes?" Agnes was focused on drawing when she suddenly heard Su Yi mention her name. She was surprised before looking up at Su Yi and nodding with a dazed look. "All right." Seeing Agnes' appearance, Steele gave another snort. "Su Yi, if you want to collude with her, you should at least put in some effort. Like this, do you think I'll believe you?" Su Yi didn't know whether to laugh or cry. "We're not criminals. Why should we collude?" Su Yi was about to explain further when he suddenly saw a trace of sadness flash across Steele's face. His heart skipped a beat, and he couldn't continue. The room fell into an awkward silence. Su Yi looked at Steele for a while before suddenly saying, "Steele, I've heard great magician Camilla say that the night I came back from Anvil City, you personally cooked a few dishes and wanted to invite me to your home for a meal?" Steele's expression froze, and then she said indifferently, "You didn't come that day, so I threw away all the dishes. Why are you suddenly bringing this up?" "It's nothing, I just suddenly thought of it and wanted to thank you," Su Yi said. "In this world, other than Vivian, this is the first time someone has cooked for me and invited me to a meal. I'm very happy." Vivian, who had been sitting beside Su Yi without saying a word, narrowed her eyes and revealed a proud smile. Steele couldn't maintain her posture anymore. She looked up in surprise and asked, "First time? You've never done it before?" "No." Su Yi shook his head. Although he had done it on Earth, this was indeed his first time in this world. Steele acted like it was her first time seeing Su Yi. She looked over Su Yi a few times and then she suddenly revealed a smile as she said, "All right, since you know how to thank me, I'll forgive you this time. Other than that, I'll give you a special privilege. If you want to eat my dishes in the future, you can tell me at any time and I'll make them for you. Of course, you can only have this privilege once, so you have to cherish it." Su Yi couldn't help revealing a smile. "Then I really have to thank you." Seeing the happy smile on Steele's face, he couldn't help saying in an emotional voice, "Steele, I take back what I said this afternoon. Although your calm and elegant side is also very good, compared to that, I still like seeing your happy smile more. I don't know why, but when I see you smile, I feel much more at ease." Steele's face revealed a faint blush. She rolled her eyes at Su Yi and softly scolded, "Idiot." When Su Yi and Steele were both in a strange mood, Agnes suddenly clapped her hands. "It's done. It's done? This fast?" Steele put down her arms in a daze and walked over to Agnes' side. She looked at the drawing board in Agnes' hands and couldn't help shouting in surprise, "It's too beautiful!" Sue couldn't help laughing. "Hey, Steele, you're the one drawn on there. Do you need to be this narcissistic?" Steele glared at Sue and then took the drawing board from Agnes' hands. She turned it over to face Sue. "You don't think it's beautiful?" "Of course I think." Sue eyes fell onto the drawing board, and it was like he was attracted by a magnet, not willing to look away at all. In this drawing, Steele had her left elbow on the table and her left cheek on her palm. Her right hand was on the table, and she was sliding her 2 fingers across the table. She had a lazy look on her face, as if she was thinking about something, but also as if she wasn't thinking about anything. On the side of the table, there was a magic lamp releasing a faint green glow. It covered Steele in a faint green glow, giving Steele a mysterious aura. It made people want to know why this girl would reveal such a puzzling expression. Compared to Master Anlio's drawing in the afternoon, the lines on this drawing were much clearer and Steele's expression was even more dazzling. Whether it was the composition or the mood, it was much better than Master Anlio's drawing. What made Sue even more satisfied was that the background was chosen in the middle of the night. The entire drawing was set by the green glow of the magic lamp, so no one could ignore this magic lamp that played a key role. Moreover, because this magic lamp's design was decided by Agnes and Vivian, Agnes was more clear than anyone about the design of this magic lamp. Therefore, she was able to draw it even more smoothly. She was able to show off the delicate and beautiful appearance of the magic lamp, making everyone's eyes move from Steele to the magic lamp and they would be attracted to it. Even when Sue saw this drawing, he couldn't help having the desire to buy a magic lamp. It could be seen just how powerful this drawing was. After carefully looking over this painting several dozen times, Sue wasn't stingy as he gave Agnes a thumbs up. "This painting is too good. Agnes, you really are a natural-born painter." Agnes shook her head and said, "If it wasn't for young Miss Steele being beautiful and this magic lamp being beautiful, this drawing wouldn't be this good." Hearing Agnes praise her beauty, Steele suddenly felt that her actions just now were a bit laughable. Steele was a cheerful and open-minded girl. After thinking of this, she felt that Agnes wasn't that displeasing to her eyes anymore. Even her long and sharp ears looked very interesting. "Agnes, you're too modest. I feel like this drawing can be considered a work of art." Steele praised Agnes. Agnes actually didn't know what modesty was, she was only speaking her true thoughts, but receiving the praise of Sue and Steele made her very happy. Of course, Sue was even happier than the two of them. Now that reality proved that Agnes had greater artistic talent than Master Anlio's, Sue didn't need to endure Master Anlio's anymore. If Master Anlio's continued to ignore his request like he did in the afternoon, then Sue would not hesitate to end their cooperation and have him scram. But there was a prerequisite to this, which was how to keep Agnes. If it was said that Sue treated Agnes differently before because of her identity as an elf, now Sue found that Agnes herself had enough value to move his heart. Agnes, with her shocking artistic talent, other than being able to replace Master Anlio's, she could also cooperate with Vivian to design a beautiful and attractive design for the new Flyers product. Don't look down on the design of a product. On Earth, with its highly developed industrial technology, many products had already matured and the differences between them were often reflected in the design. An excellent design could make a product stand out and even create a higher value for the product. Sometimes, just based on the design, the price of the same product would be very different. Although the magic machine industry had just started in signs, in order to prepare for a rainy day, Sue wouldn't let go of an outstanding designer that was sent to his door. But Agnes' identity as an elf was a very large obstacle. Compared to the dwarves, the gap between the elves and humans was even larger. The dwarves would occasionally come to live in human cities, but there wasn't a single elf. How to convince Agnes to work for the Frestec Chamber of Commerce was a large problem. Agnes, after your tribe's problem is solved, I'll let you live in Banta City, are you willing? Sui asked in a probing voice. Agnes looked at Sui in surprise. Why would I want to live in Banta City? Of course I want to return to my tribe. It really is like this, Sui muttered. He wasn't willing to give up as he kept asking. Then in what situation would you be willing to live in Banta City? To be honest, I want to hire you to work for our new flyer, are you willing? Steele looked at Sui in surprise. Sui, even if Agnes draws better than Master Anlios, she is still an elf. Agnes shook her head. Many thanks for Chairman Su's invitation, but I hope to live with my clansmen. Sui was silent for a bit before suddenly saying, Then if I help your tribe solve their problem, what if I ask for you as a reward? Steele and Vivian looked up at Sui in shock. Was he joking? However, Agnes met the gazes of the three of them and calmly nodded. If Chairman Su requests it, I'm willing. Chapter 125. The sudden appearance of the female elf Agnes, although it had shocked Steele and Vivian, other than the two of them, no one else knew about this, so naturally it didn't have that much of an effect. The people of Banta City were still living their normal lives and the new flyer was still moving forward step by step according to Sui's plan. The development of the magic punch press went very smoothly. With the full help of Great Magician Camilla, the research on the core magic array of the magic punch press progressed very quickly. Great Magician Camilla was responsible for the most important magic array and the initial improvements, while the other details were given to the subordinates of the magic tower to study. Because Carmilla's magic tower had worked with the new flyer several times before, even if the research was quite heavy this time, it was still done in an orderly manner. This progress made Sui very satisfied. With Camby and the other dwarves' research on the outer structure of the magic punch press, if nothing unexpected happened, Sui was confident in finishing the research on the magic punch press in a month and putting it into use in a short period of time. Although it would take a bit longer than the guarantee from 70, according to Sui's estimates of the production capacity of the magic punch press, as long as the magic punch press was put into use, the first batch of 3,000 agricultural magic machines could be finished a month ahead of time. This would give the agriculture department enough time to arrange these agricultural magic machines. Of course, in Sui's eyes, the magic punch press had been developed in a short period of time. Although with Sui's refined mechanical knowledge from Earth as a foundation, the magic punch press didn't need to spend time on research, but to develop the magic punch press in such a short period of time, there would definitely be various flaws. Sui was well aware of this, but he had no other choice. In order to complete the order from the king and the agriculture department, Sui had to do this. In Sui's opinion, this hasty research and development was a complete waste of a large portion of the research funds. However, as long as he could seize this opportunity, it was acceptable to waste some funds. Not to mention that through the research of the magic presses, whether it was Great Magician Camilla and the magicians under him, or Camby and the dwarven craftsmen of the magic machine workshop, they had all accumulated enough experience. This would lay a solid foundation for New Flyer's future research and development. In the future, as long as Sui continued to invest manpower and resources, New Flyer's mastery of magic machinery would only gradually improve. What Sui valued even more was that the mages and dwarven craftsmen who participated in the research had gradually developed a systematic theory of magic machines under his influence. Sui had transmigrated from Earth. Of course, he knew the importance of theoretical foundations to an industrial system. The current magic machine industry in science could be considered a product of him pulling up seedlings to help them grow, so the foundation wasn't solid. If there was a day when Sui couldn't solve the problem of developing magic machines, it could be said that there was no one in this world that could solve it. So when Sui participated in the research, he would always instill his mechanical knowledge into the others. He would clearly point out the key points of combining this knowledge with magic and give a complete explanation. This was because he hoped that other than him, there would be more qualified magic mechanical engineers in Signs. Other than the busy and intense research and development work, Heinz was also very busy during this period of time, but the happiest person was none other than himself. After the variable temperature magic air conditioner had sold over 5,000 units in Banta City and the surrounding cities, once the new magic lamp was released, there was another wave of purchases. It was different from the variable temperature magic air conditioner that was sold for 25 gold coins, which was mainly sold to rich families. The magic lamp that was considered a work of art by many people was sold for a single gold coin and was sold to all families. For the price of a single gold coin, most people who saw the appearance of the magic lamp on the 4 large billboards outside the city felt that it was very reasonable. There were even some people who felt that this price was too low because to these rich people who cared about style, this magic lamp was simply a work of art. It couldn't be priced as a normal product. Then again, the magic crystal lamps that appeared in Signs before not only couldn't compare to this magic lamp, their effects couldn't compare either. Those magic crystal lamps were priced at several hundred gold coins, so even if this magic lamp didn't have such an exaggerated price, it should at least be sold for several dozen gold coins, right? Of course, some people felt that the price was too low, so naturally there were people who felt that it was too high. Some people who weren't rich felt that a single gold coin was a large expenditure. Although this magic lamp looked very good and people couldn't help wanting to buy it, when they thought of taking out a single gold coin to buy a trivial lamp, they were still hesitant. But when the Banta Times reported on the Frestec Chamber of Commerce's new magic lamp, they used data to analyze it and changed the thoughts of these people. In a normal household, if candles or oil lamps were used for illumination at night, the cost of one candle or oil lamp per room would be between 5 to 10 copper coins per night and 2 to 3 silver coins per month. If they used the magic lamp, it would only cost a single low-grade magic crystal per month, which was less than 60 copper coins. This number wasn't that obvious in a month or two, but if it was calculated over the years, they could save over 20 silver coins each year by using the magic lamp. In just 4 years, it was enough to save a single magic lamp. New Flyer provided a 3-year warranty for the new magic lamp, which meant that if the magic lamp was damaged in 3 years, New Flyer would promise to fix it. This meant that if you bought the magic lamp, you wouldn't need to worry for at least 3 years. Looking at it like this, it was clear that buying the magic lamp was much more worth it compared to using candles and oil lamp. Not to mention that whether it was candles or oil lamps, they would produce smells and smoke, which wasn't good for a person's body. The magic lamp used a magic array to produce light, so it wouldn't produce smoke and smoke, so it wouldn't harm a person's body at all. Moreover, the magic lamp's light was much brighter than candles and oil lamps. A single candle and oil lamp could only light up a space of less than 3 square meters, but if one chose the magic lamp, they could light up every corner of the room. Once this report was published in the Banta Times, the people who were hesitant about buying the magic lamp put down their hesitation and decided to buy it. So in just a single week after the magic lamp was released, it wildly sold over 20,000 units. This was just the sales of a small city like Banta City. Adding in the orders from Banta City, this number reached a terrifying 40,000 units. It had to be known there were less than 50,000 people in and out of Banta City. This was equal to almost everyone in Banta City having one magic lamp. Of course, the main reason was that there were many families who didn't just buy a single magic lamp, rather they bought several to share in several rooms. Other than Banta City, the companies in the surrounding cities that had cooperated with New Flyer weren't willing to be outdone, so they also placed large amounts of orders. If all the orders from Heinz's other cities were added together, the total was over 50,000. In short, in just a single week, With just this small magic lamp, New Flyer had earned a large income of close to 100,000 gold coins. Each magic lamp was sold for 1 gold coin, and the production cost was only a mere 30 silver coins. Calculating it all, New Flyer's net profit from the magic lamp was close to 70,000 gold coins. Moreover, this was just in a single week. As time passed, with how popular the magic lamp was, the sales would greatly increase. According to Su Yi's estimates. No, Su Yi couldn't estimate the sales because even he never thought that the magic lamp would be this popular. It was no wonder that although Heinz was busy every day, he still had a smile that couldn't close on his face. Before this, although Heinz felt that Su Yi's new magic lamp was very good-looking and it should sell well, he never would have thought that the sales of the magic lamp would be this terrifying. As an old general merchant in Banta City, he couldn't understand at all why the people of Banta City would go crazy to buy a trivial lamp that could only be used for lighting. It's very simple, it's because people have a herd mentality. The more people buy it, the more people want to buy it. Otherwise, it would seem like they've separated themselves from the masses. Seveni carefully looked at the magic lamp in her hand for a while before she couldn't help praising. It has to be said, this magic lamp is just too beautiful. It's no wonder many masters in Banta City call it a work of art. Even at yesterday's banquet, there were several famous masters in Banta City who cursed you and New Flyer in front of Count Samo. Su Yi couldn't help smiling. How did they curse me? Seveni tilted her head to think before saying with a faint smile, those masters felt that your New Flyer was actually mass-producing this kind of almost perfect work of art and selling it for such a large amount, allowing such a precious treasure to spread all over the place. This was simply blasphemy to art. Su Yi gave a shrug. Art doesn't mean separating oneself from the masses. Those masters are just too bigoted. No, they aren't bigoted. They think that art is elegant and should be separated from the masses. Only a small group of elegant people are qualified to appreciate it. Your Frestec Chamber of Commerce's actions shattered their sense of superiority, so it's no wonder they flew into a rage out of humiliation. After saying this, Seveni's lips curled into a taunting smile. Seveni revealed a mocking smile. Actually, if it wasn't for the fact that this magic lamp is just too beautiful and artistic, making it impossible for people to deny it, even if those masters acknowledged it in their hearts, they would have pretended to look down on it. Su Yi never thought that Seveni would give such an impolite evaluation of these masters. This was because no matter what angle he looked at it from, Seveni shouldn't be a normal agricultural department official. Rather, she shouldn't have come from a normal background, she should belong to the noble circle of these masters. Right, Su Yi? The person who designed this magic lamp shouldn't be from your New Flyer, right? Where did you find such a master with such profound skills? Seveni suddenly asked. Other than this, the paintings on the 4 signs outside the city were also drawn by this master, right? I can see that the magic lamp in the painting has the same style and design as the one in my hand, so it should be drawn by the same person. Su Yi nodded. It is indeed the same person, but it isn't from our New Flyer. But if you're asking who it is, I can only apologize. You can't say? That really is a pity. Although I don't like those so-called masters, I still agree with their evaluation. The artistic value of that painting is much higher than the magic lamp. The masters all agreed that just based on that painting, it is enough for this person to become a master painter. Seveni suddenly revealed a smile. Of course, in my opinion, the reason why the painting is so outstanding and has such a good effect, other than the magic lamp, the beautiful girl in the painting is also a key reason. I've heard that the girl is called Steel. Is she great magician Camilla's granddaughter? Su Yi looked at Seveni in surprise. You even heard about this? This isn't something that is hard to find out. When I accidentally asked around last time, I found out that Steel is this famous in Banta City. But thinking about it, this is a very normal thing. She's this beautiful and keeps appearing on your new flyer signs. It's hard for her not to be famous. Seveni thought about it before asking, but compared to this, I'm more interested in something. I've heard that Steele's relationship with you isn't normal? Sue thought of the strange look Steele had when she heard Agnes answer that night. He gave 2 dry laughs before saying, "Young Miss Seveni, you came looking for me today because you have something else to discuss, right?" Seveni pursed her lips into a smile and didn't pursue this topic. After pausing, she said to Sue with a serious look, "Chairman Sue, I came looking for you today because I have some bad news to tell you." Chapter 126. Suyi's expression didn't change as he asked, "What bad news?" Seveni's expression was a bit hesitant as she paused before replying, "It's related to the 2 iron mines." Suyi couldn't help knitting his brows. Is there a problem with the 2 iron mines? These 2 iron mines could be considered the most important part of Suyi's deal with the king. If there was a problem with them, it could even be said that this deal had failed. It's not that there is a problem with the iron mines, rather there is a problem on our side, Seveni said in an embarrassed voice. Suyi's expression relaxed a bit as he asked, "Then may I ask what the problem is? Could it be that His Majesty has suddenly changed his mind?" "No, since His Majesty has already signed a contract with you, of course he won't easily change it." Seveni shook her head and said with a sigh, "But 2 days ago there were people in the kingdom who suddenly raised doubts about the contract between your new flyer and the agriculture department." "Who is it? What is the doubt?" Sue was a bit surprised. This deal was signed between the king and Sue on behalf of the agriculture department. Raising doubts about this contract was the same as raising doubts about the king. Sue had lived in the Lampari kingdom for several years, so there was no doubt about the king's prestige in the kingdom. Who dared to directly question him? This is related to a long time ago agreement. Specifically speaking, when the Lampari kingdom was first established, the first king had an agreement with the families that helped him establish the kingdom to reward them for their support. The agreement with the Joel family is related to the iron mines in the kingdom. Seveni replied. Sue suddenly understood. This means that the Joel family is dissatisfied with His Majesty taking out 2 iron mines to trade with our company? But this isn't right. These 2 mines aren't in the territory of any family, so they belong to the royal family. Since this is the case, His Majesty the King has the right to make any decision regarding these 2 iron mines. What reason do others have to raise questions? Seveni revealed a bitter smile. You're right, but the problem is that the first king made an agreement with the Joel family. Other than giving the Joel family a certain amount of iron ores, as long as the royal family wanted to transfer the other iron ores, the Joel family would have priority. Priority? Suyi's expression suddenly became extremely surprised. Does this mean that as long as the royal family wants to transfer the iron mines under their name, they must first transfer them to the Joel family? No one else is allowed to interfere? It's not that exaggerated. This priority means that at the same price, the representative of the Joel family can obtain the iron ore first. Seveni said. Sue finally understood. Thinking about it, he still felt that something was wrong, but these 2 iron mines weren't given to our company by the royal family, they were used to pay for the agricultural magic machines. The problem is that the Joel family felt that since these 2 iron mines could be used as a discount, it meant that the royal family wanted to sell these 2 iron mines, so the Joel family naturally had the right to make a bid. 3 days ago, Duke Joel proposed to His Majesty that he would have a fair bid with your new flyer to decide who would obtain these 2 iron mines. Seveni explained. Then His Majesty agreed? Sue asked. After all, this is the agreement between the first king and the Joel family. If they don't abide by it, the royal family will be spurned. Chairman Sue, His Majesty is also a bit helpless. After saying this, Seveni's voice slowed down a bit and there was a trace of pleading in her voice. Sue looked at Seveni and said with a cold snort, "Young Miss Seveni, I represent the new flyer in protesting against this. Our company has already signed a contract with His Majesty and the Agriculture Department, but now you want to break this contract because of your own reasons. I say that this goes against the spirit of the contract, and I have the right to express my dissatisfaction." Seveni gave a slight nod. "Chairman Sue, I understand your dissatisfaction. But I ask you to believe that His Majesty and our Agricultural Department are willing to cooperate with you. This time it was indeed our side that didn't consider everything, bringing losses to you and the Frestec Chamber of Commerce, so our side will definitely compensate you." "Compensate?" Sue gave another snort. "A contract that has already been signed can be broken. How do you want me to believe in this compensation?" Seveni calmly looked at Sue for a bit before shaking her head. "Chairman Sue, I've been in contact with you for a while, and know that you aren't an impulsive person, so let's not talk about this, all right? As for the 2 iron mines, His Majesty can't reject Duke Joel's request, so he hopes that your new flyer can have a fair bid with the representative of the Joel family. As for your new flyer's losses in this matter, His Majesty has said that he can give your new flyer a magic crystal mine as compensation. Other than this, there will also be some special treatment for your new flyer in the kingdom's policies. For example, the patent bill you proposed last time. His Majesty has said that he will carefully consider it and submit it to the Royal Parliament for review as soon as possible. The patent bill doesn't just benefit our new flyer company." Sue shook his head and continued, "But since His Majesty is willing to give compensation, I'm willing to accept it. But just a trivial magic crystal mine as compensation, I feel that it isn't enough. Young Miss Seveni, you should know that these 2 iron mines are worth a total of 1,800,000 gold coins in the contract. Now that Duke Joel has proposed a fair bid with our company, it's clear that he already knows this price. If the Joel family gives a higher price, how should our company respond?" Seveni immediately replied, "If New Flyer wants these 2 iron mines, it's very simple, of course you just have to give a higher price. It doesn't matter if you don't want it, just have the royal family give these 2 iron mines to the Joel family and use gold coins to pay for the order." Sue said with a cold laugh, "Young Miss Seveni, according to the contract, our new flyer could have obtained these 2 iron mines for 1,800,000 gold coins. Now we can only raise the price or lose these 2 iron mines. Do you think this is reasonable?" "Chairman Sue, the price of these 2 iron mines is 1,800,000 gold coins. Your company can obtain the same amount of gold coins from the royal family. There shouldn't be a problem, right?" Seveni said. "What if I really want these 2 iron mines?" Sue looked at Seveni, not taking a single step back. "Young Miss Seveni, I don't believe that you can't see that the Joel family's goal isn't these 2 iron mines. Rather they want to take all the iron mines in the kingdom and chase out all the competitors. Like this, they can monopolize the iron mine business in the kingdom and set the price as they wish, so no one can compete with them." After saying this, Sue shook his head with a confused expression. "Actually, young Miss Seveni, I've always felt it was very strange. For an important national resource like iron mines, why isn't the royal family in their hands and why is it controlled by a family other than the royal family? Could it be because of a trivial agreement in the early days of the kingdom?" Seveni looked at Sue with a strange look. After being silent for a bit, she slowly said word for word, "Chairman Sue, please remember that you are only a normal merchant. There are some things that you shouldn't think about." Sue gave a self-deprecating laugh. "That's right, you're right. I'm only a small merchant, of course I have no right to ask His Majesty about his plans. All right, I don't care about this now. I just want to ask, how can I obtain the 2 iron mines that should be mine? First I have to remind you that before New Flyer completes all the orders, the 2 iron mines don't belong to you. 70 said with a serious look. Second, Chairman Su, according to the original plan, there is a way for your new flyer to obtain the 2 iron mines, but I need your cooperation. This is the reason why I came looking for you this time. Su-yi revealed a faint smile and gave a slight nod. It seems like young Miss 70 already has a plan, so why didn't you say so earlier? Alright, how should I cooperate? According to Duke Joel's request, in a week, there will be a public auction for the 2 iron mines in Banta City. Chairman Su, if you want to obtain the 2 iron mines, please. ####. A week later, the Banta City's City Lord's Manor was brightly lit and filled with people. It was clear that another banquet was being held. The City Lord's Manor often held banquets for various reasons, and it was especially frequent during this time. But tonight's banquet was a bit different, because at the same time as the banquet, there would also be a public auction. An auction being held in the City Lord's Manor was something that had never happened before, but the people who knew the inside story knew that if this auction wasn't held in the City Lord's Manor, no other place would be qualified to hold it. Because this auction wasn't selling rare treasures, rather it was selling 2 iron mines in Banta City. Although all the rare treasures were very expensive and could be auctioned for sky-high prices, compared to the 2 real mines, they were obviously far from enough. The people who could participate in the auction were mostly rich people, but the people who could participate in today's banquet couldn't simply be described as rich. Just 1 iron mine alone could involve a huge sum of millions of gold coins. If 2 were to be auctioned together, the amount of gold coins involved would be enough to make most people dizzy. So there were quite a few people who saw Su-yi appear at the banquet, and they couldn't help revealing a trace of surprise. Although the new flyer had developed quickly since it was established, catching everyone's attention, using less than half a year to become a company that could occupy a place in Banta City, the new flyer had only been established for a short period of time and lacked a foundation. Even if the new flyer made a large profit with each product, in less than half a year, it was impossible for them to accumulate that much wealth. This Su-yi, what qualification did he have to participate in this highest-level auction that cost over 1 million gold coins? Chapter 127. Although there wasn't anyone who came to ask Su-yi if he was qualified to attend in front of him, there were still quite a few people who came to ask him. Not long after Su-yi appeared at the banquet, the Amsterdam Chamber of Commerce's chairman Mun Cruz came forward with a glass of wine in his hand. Chairman Su, normally when we invite you to banquets, you always say that you're too busy to come. Why did you immediately appear when the City Lord invited you today? Since he reached an exclusive contract with Su-yi for the cement and experimented with the cement several times, confirming that this thing had amazing properties, far surpassing the materials the Amsterdam Chamber of Commerce used before. Whenever Chairman Cruz saw Su-yi, he would greet him with a smile like this. He no longer looked at Su-yi with suspicion and disdain like when new flyer had just joined the business union. Su-yi raised his glass with a smile and clinked glasses with him. Chairman Cruz, you're wrongly accusing me. You have to know that I've even rejected the City Lord's invitation before. It's not just against you. There's no other way, there are too many things to do in the company. Not just before, I've been so busy during this time that I can't even sleep to work. To be able to come to this banquet today, it took me a lot of effort. It's good that you're busy with work. Your new flyers things have always been this popular, so of course you as the chairman will be busy. Chairman Cruz laughed. He suddenly came closer to Su-yi and deliberately lowered his voice to ask, Chairman Su, tell me the truth, how many of the magic lamps have you sold? Su-yi revealed a faint smile and reached out his hand. 5,000? No, it can't be that little. Then, 50,000? Seeing Su-yi nod, Chairman Cruz took a cold breath as his face filled with shock. It hasn't even been half a month, right? It actually sold this much? Chairman Su, you. Did your Frestek Chamber of Commerce cast a charm spell on all the people of Banta City? Did you make everyone buy your things? Sui couldn't help smiling. Although he didn't use charm magic, with the various products New Flyer released before, the advertisements of New Flyer, and the reports in the Banta Times, the people of Banta City had a high recognition of the brand of New Flyer and Shinfei. No matter what new product New Flyer released, it would attract all kinds of attention. This time, because of the addition of the two genius designers Agnes and Vivian, the appearance of the magic lamp was enough to attract most people's attention. Adding in the influence of the Frestek Chamber of Commerce, it had such a terrifying sales volume. Chairman Cruz, if I had such powerful magic, why would I open a company? I would just charm people and make them obediently take out the gold coins in their pockets. Wouldn't that be enough? Sui teased. Being able to sell this well is naturally because our company's products are good enough. For example, cement, could it be that you don't like it? Hearing Sui mention cement, Chairman Cruz nervously looked around. He looked at Sui and said in a low voice, Chairman Su, I'll have to ask you to keep this thing a secret for now. Sui nodded with a faint smile. In the business world, being able to seize the initiative was very important in many situations. Now that the Amsterdam Chamber of Commerce had obtained the exclusive right to buy cement from New Flyer, it meant that they were one step ahead of the other companies in using this new building material. It also meant that the Amsterdam Chamber of Commerce would be able to develop further in the future. Chairman Cruz, of course, didn't want Sui to reveal this secret. He didn't want it to affect his plans with the Amsterdam Chamber of Commerce. Seeing that Sui didn't say anything, Chairman Cruz gave a hollow laugh and said, Chairman Su, let's go back to the previous question. Why do you have time to come to this banquet today? I'm really curious. Sui looked at him. What? Do you also think that I don't have the qualifications to come to this auction? How could that be? Chairman Cruz shook his head. After pausing for a bit, he used a very tactful tone to say, Isn't your company only selling magic machines? Why are you interested in iron ores? Your Amsterdam Chamber of Commerce specializes in construction, so why are you here? Sui asked back. Hey, the amount of iron used in construction isn't small. Not to mention the thing you mentioned before. Chairman Cruz lowered his voice again. That reinforced concrete also uses a lot of iron. If you can have an iron ore, it would be much better than buying it from someone else. I think that Chairman Su should be very clear that that fellow Fuller Morgan has always been very black-hearted. Sui spread his hands. Then do you think that our New Flyer's magic machines have a high demand for iron ores? Chairman Cruz silently looked at Sui for a bit before slightly knitting his brows. That means that Chairman Su, you really are interested in those two iron ores? Of course, otherwise why would I come? Sui naturally replied. Then he pointed at the various people in the banquet hall that were filled with people of all kinds. This time the royal family is auctioning iron ores with great difficulty. Look, it isn't just our Banta City's companies, even the large companies of the other cities are here. I think that if His Majesty allows it, the companies of the other countries will also participate. In the end, iron ores have many uses, and to have the chance to own two, who would be willing to let it go? Chairman Cruz turned his head and looked at the people in the banquet hall who were chatting in twos and threes. He nodded and said, Indeed, this is a rare opportunity. No one wants to miss it. After saying this, he turned to Sui and hesitantly asked, But Chairman Su, according to the information I've heard from the Lord City Lord, the smaller iron ore has a starting price of 500,000 gold coins. The meaning behind these words was of course doubting Sui's economic power. Sui revealed a smile. After thinking that Chairman Cruz had been talking for a while, he finally couldn't help asking this question. He said in a relaxed voice, I've also heard about this. It should be said that the starting price is very low, but I can see that there are many people here, so the final price will be much higher. Chairman Cruz looked at Sue as he served the dishes. Seeing that he didn't even knit his brows after hearing the shocking amount of 500,000 gold coins, he couldn't help feeling doubtful. The Frestec Chamber of Commerce was in Banta City, right in front of everyone's eyes. What things they sold and how much income they earned, everyone could see it. According to the estimates of the people from the union last time, even if the new flyer made a profit from each product, they should have earned less than 200,000 gold coins in less than half a year. Why did Sue feel that he could participate in the auction of these two iron ores? Where did the new flyer get this much money? Of course, it was impossible for him to obtain an answer from Sue, so he could only chat with Sue for a bit before leaving. As soon as he turned around, President Cruz's gaze swept across the banquet hall, and he was suddenly startled. This banquet hall that was over 500 square meters and the highest point was over 4 meters off the ground. Looking around, Chairman Cruz could see countless products from the new flyer. On the left and right walls, from left to right, there were over 20 variable temperature magic air conditioners that the new flyer released before. Although the new flyer advertised that a single variable temperature magic air conditioner could support the temperature of 30 square meters, this banquet hall was used by the Lord City Lord to entertain guests, so of course he wouldn't be stingy. So he ordered 20 units from the new flyer at once. Because it was already winter, the outside was already covered in ice at night. So in this banquet hall, there were 20 magic air conditioners that were all turned on, making the temperature of the hall like it was late spring. On the wall under the magic air conditioners, there was also a long row of brackets. On these brackets, New Flyer's newest magic lamps were turned on, releasing a dazzling light that lit up this large hall like it was daytime. When they held banquets in this hall before, other than having countless candles on the walls, they had to light candles on each table to light up the entire hall. But now with these magic lamps hanging on the walls and the magic chandelier that the Frestec Chamber of Commerce had specially designed for this place, the entire hall was filled with light and didn't feel dark at all. Seeing these magic air conditioners and magic lamps, Chairman Cruz couldn't help having a guess that he didn't dare believe. Perhaps everyone had underestimated the new flyer. Sue didn't know that Chairman Cruz had all these thoughts in his mind, and he didn't know that because he saw all these products from the new flyer, he had made a serious miscalculation about the new flyer. But if he knew that Chairman Cruz was thinking about 200,000 gold coins, he would definitely be shocked. This was because according to the financial report that Seabass had made half a month ago, in close to half a year, not counting the income from the magic lamps, the Shinfei Chamber of Commerce had sold a total of 200,000 gold coins. But for the new flyer's true profit, it was not something that outsiders could calculate. The reason was very simple: any product from the new flyer had a large profit. Moreover, it was a very terrifying profit. The one with the lowest profit margin was the first product, the magic fan. This was because when he was developing the magic fan, Sue didn't have enough experience in developing magic machines, so he couldn't lower the cost of the magic fan. Moreover, Sue didn't hire enough dwarven craftsmen back then, so he couldn't develop enough magic production machines to mass-produce them. So most of the magic fan shells were made by the blacksmiths in Banta City, which increased the cost even more. But even like this, the profit margin of the first-generation magic fan was still over 50%. As for the second-generation variable-speed magic fan, because the production process was more mature and it was mass-produced by the magic production machines, while the cost was greatly reduced, the price didn't change from the first-generation magic fan. So the profit margin was over 70%. As for the agricultural magic machines, the magic air conditioners, the magic rice cookers, and now the magic lamps, no matter which one it was, their profit margin wouldn't be less than 70%. This meant that in less than half a year, the new flyer's total revenue was 200,000 gold coins. That meant that the total profit was a shocking 140,000 gold coins. Of course, the new flyer had invested quite a bit during this time. The main expenditure was on research and development. When it came to researching new products, new technology, and new theories, Sui had always spared no effort in investing in them. In this half a year, just in this aspect, Sui had invested over 20,000 gold coins. Adding in the 30,000 gold coins that the company had spent including the wages of the workers, the new flyer still had 87,463 gold coins on their book. For Sui and the new flyer, who had started from nothing, this was without a doubt a large amount of money. But this money was clearly far from being enough to auction off 2 iron mines. After Sui finished calculating in his heart, he looked up and met the confused gaze of the Fulcao Chamber of Commerce's chairman Fuller Morgan. Chapter 128. This time the Lampari Kingdom's royal family suddenly announced that they would be auctioning 2 iron mines in Banta City, which attracted the attention of all the powerful companies in the kingdom. After confirming that this news was true, the companies that came to Banta City to participate in this auction were all the top companies in the Lampari Kingdom. Everyone was clear that this was a very good chance, because before this, all the iron mines in the Lampari Kingdom were controlled by the Joel family and other people couldn't meddle in at all. But now that the king was taking out 2 iron mines to auction, there was no doubt that the royal family's attitude towards the Joel family was changing. They were already silently admitting that other companies could join the iron mining industry. As for why the royal family would suddenly do this, everyone had different guesses. The most common guess was that the king was finally dissatisfied with the Joel family controlling the kingdom's iron mines, so this was a sign that he was going to make a move against the Joel family. The second guess was made by some people who understood the kingdom's finances. Because the kingdom's finances had been at a very low level for many years, even if the king wanted to make some moves, he couldn't do it because of the kingdom's finances. So without a choice, the king finally decided to take out all the mineral resources of the royal family to exchange for enough revenue to support his other plans. It should be said that this guess was close to the truth. If it was said in general, it was because the king was limited by the kingdom's finances and couldn't buy the tens of thousands of agricultural magic machines the kingdom needed from the new flyer, so he wanted to use the mines to pay. But because Su Yi's agreement with the king and the agriculture department was done in secret, there were very few people who knew about it. The reason why the Joel family knew about these 2 mines was because they had inferred from His Majesty the king's actions towards these 2 mines. Therefore, they had asked His Majesty the king for a fair price. As for the new flyer's role in this, Seveni had promised Su Yi that the Joel family wouldn't know, but Su Yi wasn't certain. And now, looking at President Fuller Morgan's eyes, Su Yi was immediately sure that even if the Joel family didn't know that clearly, they definitely knew that he and the new flyer were involved. As for how much the Joel family knew, Su Yi wasn't sure. After thinking about it, Su Yi walked over to Chairman Morgan. Seeing Su Yi walk over, Chairman Morgan quickly put on a smile and raised his cup to Su Yi. "Hey, dear Su Yi, I'm surprised that you're here today." Guild leader Cruz said the same thing just now, Su Yi said with a shrug. "From the looks of it, I'm afraid that more than half of the people here have the same idea." Chairman Morgan smiled and didn't deny it at all. Su Yi didn't want to argue with him on this matter, so he directly said, "Chairman Morgan, your Fulcao Chamber of Commerce already controls half of the iron mines in Banta City. Now that there are 2 more, can't you just give them up?" Chairman Morgan rubbed his half-white hair and said with a laugh, "Chairman Su, are you joking? Since our Fulcao Chamber of Commerce already controls half of the iron mines, why can't we control the remaining iron mines? Chairman Su, your new flyer is the exclusive magic machine business, so if other people came to steal it from you, would you be willing to give it up? I'm very willing, Su-yi said with a nod. There is only development with competition. Actually, I really hope that other than our new flyer, there will be several more magic machine companies. If it's just us, the development of this industry will be too slow. Chairman Morgan's face sunk a bit and he said with a frown, Chairman Su, you don't mean what you say, right? The reason why your new flyer is earning so much money is because only your company can produce magic machines. If it's like you said and there are several more companies that can produce magic machines, do you think your company can still earn this much money? Here, aren't there a few over there? Su-yi raised his chin and looked at a group of people gathered in the distance. Chairman Morgan followed Su-yi's gaze and said in a voice of disdain, These fellows from Sultan City, they actually want to steal business from our Banta City, they really don't know what's after they die. That group of people were the representatives of Sultan City's companies. The one being surrounded by this group of people was the Leo Chamber of Commerce's chairman Bruno. Among the people beside him was the Farsak Chamber of Commerce's chairman that Su-yi was familiar with. Perhaps it was because he felt Su-yi and Morgan's gazes. Chairman Bruno stopped talking with the people around him and turned to look over. Meeting Su-yi's gaze, Chairman Bruno's eyes turned cold, but he still had a smile on his face. He even raised the wine cup in his hand to signal to Su-yi. The people on the side saw his actions and also looked over. Chairman Farsak immediately revealed a sincere smile and also raised his cup to Su-yi. The others were a bit confused. They didn't understand why Chairman Bruno and Chairman Farsak, who could call the wind and summon the rain in Sultan City, would specially signal to this young man who didn't seem that remarkable. If it was said that Su-yi was the descendant of a large noble family, the family behind him would be enough for the two of them to be polite to him. But no matter how one looked at it, Su-yi didn't have the special aura of a large noble family. But since Chairman Bruno and Chairman Farsak had expressed their intentions, everyone naturally wouldn't be stingy with their smiles. They all raised their cups to Su-yi. Su-yi also raised his cup and smiled to them. He said to Chairman Morgan, This auction is being held by His Majesty and the mining company in Banta City. We don't have any special advantages in front of the people of Sultan. We? Chairman Morgan knit his brows and couldn't help saying, Chairman Su, does your new flyer really want to participate in the auction? Of course, otherwise why would I come? Su-yi said in a natural voice. Chairman Morgan was silent for a bit before saying with a soft snort, Chairman Su, as a friend of the Union, I have to advise you. It's best if you don't do things that exceed your abilities. Su-yi nodded. Many thanks for Chairman Morgan's advice, I know what to do. Chairman Morgan gave a strong cold snort before raising his cup and walking away. Watching him leave, Su-yi rubbed his nose and gave a bitter laugh. Why is it that no one believes that we have the ability to buy these 2 iron mines? Thinking about it, he gave a shrug and said with a self-deprecating laugh, All right, actually I don't believe it either. The banquet slowly moved forward with everyone chatting. When everyone felt that it was about time, Count Samyed appeared from the back of the hall and instantly attracted everyone's attention. After welcoming everyone and saying some polite words, Count Samyed quickly entered the main topic. He began to announce the main event of the banquet, the start of the auction. Because of His Majesty's request, this auction will be auctioning 2 mines that are 50 kilometers west of Banta City and 60 kilometers southwest of Banta City. According to the exploration of the kingdom's mining department, other than being rich in iron ore, there are also various other metal ores. Most of the people under the stage already had a certain understanding of the situation of these 2 iron mines, but when they heard Count Samyed's detailed introduction, it still caused everyone to gasp in surprise. According to the exploration of the kingdom's mining department, these 2 iron mines could be considered first-class veins. If they could be mined normally each year, the lowest income would be over 100,000 gold coins. If they could buy these 2 iron mines, even if they had to invest quite a bit of money to mine them, they could still earn a large amount. According to His Majesty's instructions, this auction is not for the ownership of these 2 iron mines, rather it is for the mining rights. It will last for 50 years, so those who are interested can bid. Count Samoyed said. Everyone secretly nodded, not feeling surprised at all. This was expected. Even if the iron mines were controlled by the Joel family, they still belonged to the Lampari Kingdom's royal family in name and didn't belong to the Joel family. Only the mining rights had always been in the hands of the Joel family, so they were still controlled by the Joel family. 50 years of mining rights wasn't too long for an iron mine, but it couldn't be considered short either. If one was willing to invest, 50 years was enough for them to earn back their capital and earn a large amount of money at the same time. After introducing the basic conditions of these 2 iron mines, Count Samoyed gave the responsibility of hosting to 2 specially invited hosts and auctioneer. The host didn't immediately announce the start of the auction, but the first thing he did was to ask the people and companies participating in the auction to first pay a deposit. This wasn't a special exception. Before a particularly large auction began, there would usually be this kind of rule to ensure that those who participated in the auction had enough strength to participate, so as to prevent people from deliberately causing trouble. Most of the people who came to the banquet were already prepared, so under the supervision of the people sent by the mayor's manor, everyone paid the deposit that they had prepared beforehand. According to the popular rules of signs, the deposit had to be at least 40% of the base price. The base price of these 2 mines added up to 1.2 million gold coins, so just the deposit alone was as high as 480,000 gold coins. Seeing the surrounding merchants come forward and pay their deposits one by one, Sui couldn't help feeling doubtful. Based on the current situation, there were quite a few powerful merchants in the Lampari Kingdom. All these companies could take out a large amount of 480,000 gold coins. The Lampuri Kingdom's income was a pitiful one that didn't even reach 1,000,000 gold coins. This difference was just too big. Looking at Chairman Morgan walking onto the stage, Sui narrowed his eyes and fell into thought. Very soon it was Suyi's turn to come on stage. Hearing the host call out Suyi's name, most of the people under the stage looked over. The merchants of Banta City naturally recognized Sui, and because of the new flyer, the merchants of the surrounding cities had already heard of Sui. Even if they didn't know Sui before today, they had heard some rumors about Sui and the new flyer during the banquet, so they were a bit curious about the rapid development of the new flyer. But everyone was clear that no matter how much money this new company could earn, it was impossible for them to earn 500,000 gold coins in less than half a year. So when Sui walked out of the crowd and walked onto the stage, there were countless curious and doubtful gazes that looked over. This new flyer, could they really take out that much money? Sui had a perfect smile on his face as he walked in front of the host at a moderate pace. He first gave a smile to the Samoyed Count sitting on the side before taking out a paper bag that didn't seem that thick. The host took the paper bag and opened it, looking at Sui in surprise before announcing in a loud voice, "The new flyer has handed over 500,000 gold coins notes from the Chimera Chamber of Commerce for a total of 500,000 gold coins." Chapter 129. Whispers came from under the stage and many people had looks of disbelief on their faces. Their eyes looking at Sui were filled with shock. This new flyer, he actually took out 500,000 gold coins at once. What was even more shocking was that he actually took out a large amount of gold banknote from the Chimera Chamber of Commerce. It had to be known that the Chimera Chamber of Commerce was the largest company in the signs, so it wasn't easy to obtain their recognition to give you a gold banknote. To have the Chimera Chamber of Commerce give you a large amount of gold banknote, that was even more difficult. Although the companies present weren't weak, most of them had used the gold banknotes from the Lampari Kingdom's Lampuri Company or used some bonds as collateral. Only a few companies took out gold banknotes from the Chimera Chamber of Commerce that were recognized as authoritative companies on the continent. To everyone, having a gold banknote from the Chimera Chamber of Commerce was proof of one's status. With New Flyer's current strength, they normally wouldn't have this qualification. Other than this, New Flyer had actually taken out 500,000 gold coins at once. This meant that Su-E was participating in the competition for the two mines. With New Flyer's strength, being able to compete for one of the smaller mines was already unbelievable, not to mention competing for two. But with reality in front of them, they had to believe it. Seeing Su-E walk off the stage, Chairman Morgan narrowed his eyes. From the 5 large amounts of gold banknotes from the Chimera Chamber of Commerce, he could smell something unusual. These two mines that the Fulcao Chamber of Commerce was determined to get, perhaps there would be some changes. Very soon, the companies participating in the auction all paid their deposit. Everyone was shocked to realize that according to the numbers announced by the host, there were 38 companies participating in the auction. Just with the deposits, the host had already received a large amount of over 10 million gold coins. It was no wonder that the banquet hall had long been surrounded by fully armed soldiers, and no one was allowed to come close. Over 10 million gold coins. This was a number that would make most people go crazy. Soon, under the excited and nervous anticipation of the crowd, the host announced the official start of the auction. The auctioneer that Samo Count had specially invited from Anvilmar City took the stage. The starting bid for mine number 1 is 500,000 gold coins. The minimum bid increment is 5,000 gold coins. Begin. After the auctioneer's gavel fell, there were already several chambers of commerce that could not wait to announce their numbers. In just a moment, the auction price had risen from the base price of 500,000 gold coins to over 600,000 gold coins. At this time, the heated scene in the banquet hall finally eased up, and the voices of bidding stopped. 700,000 gold coins! A voice suddenly rang out, instantly causing the hall to fall silent. Everyone looked in the direction of the voice in shock. The last bid was only 610,000 gold coins, but this guy actually raised it to 700,000 gold coins. Was there something wrong with his head? When they saw the people who were bidding, everyone came to a sudden realization. The Fulcao Chamber of Commerce was determined to obtain these two mines. Chairman Morgan directly increased the price, showing everyone the Fulcao Chamber of Commerce's determination. Of course, although this price was already considered a sky-high price, it was not enough to scare people. After the hall was silent for a moment, someone quickly called out a bid of 710,000 gold coins. The price exceeded 700,000 gold coins, which made many chambers of commerce hesitate. Such a large amount of money was not something that could be easily taken out. But their hesitation only lasted for a moment. Very soon, these people understood that the smaller mine was being auctioned, so the price would be a bit lower. If they couldn't even obtain this mine, then there was no need to hope for the second mine. Therefore, although the bidding was not as heated as before, it did not stop. The bidding continued to rise, quickly approaching the 800,000 gold coins mark. In everyone's eyes, 800,000 gold coins was a very suitable price for this mine. If they exceeded this price, even if they could still obtain quite a bit of profit, compared to the subsequent investment and output, it would not be considered a profit. Of course, with profits there would be people who were moved. Therefore, there were still many company representatives who were prepared to increase the price. But at this moment, Chairman Morgan spoke again. 900,000 gold coins. The banquet hall once again fell into silence. Everyone looked at Chairman Morgan with eyes filled with shock. Even if your Fulcao Chamber of Commerce wants this mine, you shouldn't increase the price like this, right? It's fine if you don't open your mouth, but to raise the price by 100,000 gold coins, you are clearly telling others that you must obtain it. It should be said that Chairman Morgan's bidding strategy was not rare. When bidding for an item that was particularly popular and had intense competition, this method could directly scare away many people who were hoping for a fluke and save a lot of trouble. But after showing one's determination, there was a high chance of someone deliberately raising the price. Whether it was good or bad, it was very hard to predict. The hall was silent for a bit. When the auctioneer wanted to confirm, someone else increased the price. 950,000. Chairman Morgan looked in the direction of the voice and found that the one who shouted this price was Sue E. and the Leo Chamber of Commerce's Chairman Bruno. Their gazes met and Chairman Morgan gave a cold laugh as he said in a clear voice, 1 million. The company representatives that were hesitating whether they should bid or not all couldn't help closing their mouth. Everyone looked at Chairman Morgan and Chairman Bruno with a bit of excitement. Judging from the current situation, this auction had most likely become a wrestling ground for these two people. As expected, after hearing Chairman Morgan's bid, Chairman Bruno did not hesitate at all and immediately shouted, 1,050,000. Chairman Morgan only paused for a bit before immediately following, 1,100,000. 1,150,000. 1,200,000. After the two of them clashed several times, the price reached 1,500,000 in the blink of an eye. Everyone in the hall held their breaths and did not dare say a word. No one would have thought that the starting price of 500,000 would reach 1,500,000. Even if they were all powerful companies, for any company, if they wanted to take out 1,500,000 gold coins, they would need to carefully consider it. Even Chairman Bruno's expression couldn't help changing when he heard Chairman Morgan bid 1,500,000 gold coins without any hesitation. After hesitating for a bit, he gritted his teeth and shouted, 1,510,000. Hearing this number, everyone in the hall couldn't help letting out a sigh. When the two of them bid before, they both increased the price by 50,000 gold coins, but now Chairman Bruno only increased it by 10,000 gold coins. It could be seen that he no longer had any confidence. This bid was just a fluke, betting that Chairman Morgan had already reached his limit. However, Chairman Morgan gave a cold laugh at Chairman Bruno and directly shouted 1,600,000. Facing Chairman Morgan's cold gaze, Chairman Bruno's forehead was covered in a cold sweat. He really wanted to add another 10,000 to try, but he was afraid that Chairman Morgan would suddenly give up. If it was like this, it meant that the Leo Chamber of Commerce would have to buy this mine for the sky-high price of 1,610,000 gold coins. Although the Leo Chamber of Commerce was the #1 company in Saltan City, it couldn't compare to the Fulcao Chamber of Commerce, which was considered one of the top companies in the Lampari Kingdom. If they really took out 1,610,000 gold coins, it would be a huge blow to the Leo Chamber of Commerce. Mining an iron mine required large amounts of manpower and resources, so the investment was huge. Because the Fulcao Chamber of Commerce's main business was mining, they already had a wealth of mining experience. For them, mining an iron mine was a very normal action, but for the Leo Chamber of Commerce, it was not the same thing. In comparison, the Fulcao Chamber of Commerce's income from mining this iron mine would definitely far surpass the other companies, so Chairman Morgan kept increasing the price without even blinking. Seeing Chairman Bruno struggle, Chairman Morgan gave a cold laugh. He turned to the auctioneer on the stage and said, "Can you start the countdown?" The auctioneer looked at Chairman Bruno. Seeing that he didn't have any reaction, He raised the mallet in his hand and loudly said, 1,600,000 going once. Wait. Chairman Bruno suddenly raised his hand and stopped the auctioneer. Then he fiercely stared at Chairman Morgan and squeezed out a few words from between his teeth. 1,650,000. Everyone was in an uproar. Before, Chairman Bruno only added 10,000 gold coins, but this time he added 50,000 gold coins in one go. What did he want to do? Could it be that the Leo Chamber of Commerce wanted this iron mine as much as the Falcao Chamber of Commerce? Chairman Morgan looked at Chairman Bruno and also unexpectedly yelled out the number 1,660,000. Seeing Chairman Bruno hesitate for a bit and was about to increase the price, Chairman Morgan looked at him with a gloomy face and said in a deep voice, Chairman Bruno, does your Leo Chamber of Commerce really plan on competing with our Falcao Chamber of Commerce? I think I need to remind you that even if this iron mine is given to your Leo Chamber of Commerce, I'm afraid you won't be able to mine a single piece of iron. This time it wasn't just Chairman Bruno, the other people in the hall also had strange expressions. Chairman Morgan's words were clearly a threat. However, everyone had to admit that his threat was very likely to become a reality. The Falcao Chamber of Commerce controlled all the mining businesses in the Lampari Kingdom. As long as they said a word, there wouldn't be a single miner that would dare work for the Leo Chamber of Commerce. Like this, even if the Leo Chamber of Commerce obtained the mine, it would be very hard for them to mine it. Even if they found a way to mine it, it wouldn't be easy to sell it. Chairman Bruno's expression changed several times before he finally let out a sigh and dropped his hand. Seeing him give up, everyone couldn't help letting out a sigh. The first auction had this kind of result, so there wouldn't be any other companies that would dare compete with the Falcao Chamber of Commerce for the second auction. In fact, the dust had already settled for this auction. Chairman Morgan revealed a proud smile of victory and turned to look at the auctioneer on the stage. The auctioneer was naturally an expert at reading people's expressions. Seeing the situation under the stage, he didn't hesitate and raised the mallet again. 1,660,000 going once. 1,660,000 going twice. 1,660,000 going thrice. Seeing the auctioneer about to drop the mallet, a voice suddenly rang out. 1,800,000. Chapter 130. The hall was originally very quiet because the result was about to be decided, but when this voice came out, it immediately spread through the hall and attracted everyone's attention. After seeing the owner of the voice, everyone's faces were filled with shock. It was actually Sui. It was actually the new flyer. The shock instantly turned into deep doubt. How much did Sui bid? 8 million gold coins. How could he bid such a sky-high price? Where did the new flyer get so much money? Although Sui had taken out 500,000 gold coins from the Chimera Chamber of Commerce, no one really treated the new flyer as the real deal. They only thought that Sui was here to join in the fun. No one would have thought that when the Leo Chamber of Commerce gave up, the new flyer would jump out. Chairman Morgan looked at Sui and felt the uneasiness in his heart grow stronger and stronger. According to common sense, the new flyer shouldn't be able to take out this much money. But when he saw Sui take out the 5 gold coins from the Chimera Chamber of Commerce, Chairman Morgan suddenly felt that tonight's matter wouldn't be as easy as he thought. Sure enough, the Leo Chamber of Commerce jumped out and increased the price by 300,000 gold coins for no reason. Now Sui also jumped out at this crucial moment. 8 million gold coins? Chairman Morgan looked at Sui and said with a smile, Chairman Su, it's not that I don't believe you, but can your new flyer really take out that much money? I think you borrowed those 500,000 gold coins from somewhere, right? Sui pretended to be surprised. Chairman Morgan, how do you know I borrowed it? Right, that's right, our new flyer can't take out that much money right now, so we could only borrow it. Fortunately, a kind-hearted person was willing to lend it to me. Otherwise, I really wouldn't dare to participate in this auction. Chairman Morgan shook his head. Lending your new flyer 500,000 gold coins, I can barely believe it, but lending you 1,800,000 gold coins. Not just me, even if you ask everyone here, who would believe it? Although the other people in the banquet hall did not directly agree with President Morgan, from their expressions, it was obvious that they were suspicious. Without waiting for Su Yi's reply, Chairman Morgan turned to Samo Count, who was personally supervising the auction, and bowed. Sir City Lord, I suspect that new flyer can't take out that much money, so Chairman Su's actions are simply to cause trouble. I beg you to follow the rules of the auction and expel him. Hearing President Morgan's words, the crowd went into an uproar. Although most people felt that new flyer definitely wouldn't be able to take out 1.8 million gold coins, Chairman Morgan's current actions were completely tearing apart all pretenses with Su Yi. After carefully thinking about it, everyone felt that Chairman Morgan's actions were very ruthless. If Su Yi was really expelled, not only would Su Yi lose face, it would be hard for New Flyer to maintain a foothold in Banta City. With the strength of the Fulcao Chamber of Commerce, how could they be worried about tearing apart all pretenses with a small new flyer? Count Samo knit his brows. He stood up to look at Su Yi before looking back at Chairman Morgan and saying in a deep voice, Chairman Morgan, this is only your suspicions, it can't become a reason for me to expel Chairman Su. Chairman Morgan nodded before pointing at Su Yi and saying, Then Sir City Lord, I hope that Chairman Su can prove that he has the ability to pay 1,800,000 gold coins. Otherwise, he is disrupting the order of the auction, and I am very dissatisfied with this. Su Yi couldn't help saying, Chairman Morgan, why don't you prove it yourself first? Chairman Morgan said with a cold laugh, Does our Fulcao Chamber of Commerce need proof? We aren't a small company like yours. Su Yi looked at Chairman Morgan and felt a bit strange. Although he expected Chairman Morgan to react to his sudden bid, he never thought that his reaction would be this intense. Could it be that Chairman Morgan had secretly received some news? Thinking about it, Su Yi's expression changed before he revealed a smile. He turned to Count Samo and said, Sir City Lord, according to fair reasoning, I feel that Chairman Morgan's request and protest are completely nonsense, and there is no need to care about it. But Chairman Morgan is right, our new flyer is a small company, so of course we can't have the same privileges as a large company like the Fulcao Chamber of Commerce. So this time, in order to not make it hard for the Sir City Lord, I've decided to take out proof to prove that our new flyer has the ability to pay this bid. Including Chairman Morgan, everyone looked at Su Yi with curious gazes. This fellow could actually prove it? How could he prove it? Sir City Lord, can you let one of my companions in? Su Yi asked Samo Count Samo. This companion can prove it? Samo Count Samo asked back. Yes. Su Yi nodded. Good. Samo Count Samo switched hosts and had him personally escort Su Yi out of the banquet hall. When Su Yi walked out the door, the banquet hall instantly became noisy. Everyone gathered in groups of 2s and 3s, discussing who Su Yi would call in. They were actually able to prove that New Flyer had the ability to pay 1,800,000 gold coins. I think this fellow is clearly finding an excuse to run away, right? Chairman Morgan said with a cold snort. The Serene Chamber of Commerce's Chairman Manhattan Rank and the Armani Chamber of Commerce's Chairman Samuel Vincent beside him looked at each other, seeing the uneasiness in each other's eyes. Manhattan Rank thought about it before saying, Chairman Morgan, although I know that your Fulcao Chamber of Commerce is determined to obtain these 2 mines, New Flyer is still a partner of our business union, so we shouldn't make our relationship like this, right? That's right, Chairman Morgan, just let Su Yi bid. If you think it's too high, then don't bid anymore. Anyway, we all know that New Flyer doesn't have that much money. As long as he can't take it out when the time comes, The one losing face is him, and new flyer, it isn't related to you. According to the rules of the auction, your Fulcao Chamber of Commerce with the second highest bid can still obtain the mine, so why do you need to make things this awkward with him? Chairman Vincent also added, there are many representatives of companies from other cities here, and if they see the relationship between our Banta cities companies like this, we will be mocked. This fellow asked for it. It's fine if he just honestly does his magic machine business, but he actually wants to meddle in our Fulcao Chamber of Commerce's business. This has already broken the rules, so you can't blame me. Chairman Morgan said. Actually, he also agreed with Chairman Vincent's words. In a normal situation, he wasn't willing to fall out with Sue E. But he felt that something was strange tonight which made his heart very uneasy, so he asked Sue E. to take out proof. As for falling out with New Flyer because of this, he and the Fulcao Chamber of Commerce didn't care. Chairman Rank and Chairman Vincent looked at each other and revealed helpless bitter smiles. At this time, they really hoped that Sue E. wouldn't come back. However, reality didn't let them do as they wished. In less than 5 minutes after Sue E. left, he came back to the banquet hall with the host, and there was another person with him. The curious gazes of everyone in the hall fell on this person. Then, a burst of exclamations could be heard in the hall. It's actually him. When Chairman Morgan saw this person, his face instantly became very ugly. Chairman Rank looked at this person before looking at Chairman Morgan, as his expression became very wonderful. Only Chairman Vincent was a bit confused. Seeing the change in their expressions, he looked at this person and found that the middle-aged man who came in with Sue E. had a well-proportioned body. His clothes were very decent and he didn't have a single strand of mess. His head of slightly white hair was neatly combed and he gave off a strict and capable aura. He should be a very capable person with a single glance. But based on his appearance, this person shouldn't have made Chairman Morgan and Chairman Rank have such a large reaction. Who is this person? Chairman Rank looked at the relaxed smile on Sue Yi's face and said with a bitter smile, "You'll know in a while." Under everyone's complicated gazes, Sue E and that person were led to the stage by the host. Count Sama looked at that person before looking at Sue E and revealing a smile. "Sue E, your face isn't small." Sue E said with a smile, "Sir City Lord is too kind. Can I ask him to help me answer Chairman Morgan's question?" Count Samo slightly nodded, "Of course." Sue E said something to that person in a low voice. That person nodded and came to the front of the stage. His eyes swept over everyone and he raised his voice. "Everyone, let me introduce myself. I'm the Lampari Kingdom branch manager of the Chimera Chamber of Commerce, Fairy Ross." As soon as his voice fell, there was a burst of cries that were louder than before. This person was actually someone from the Chimera Chamber of Commerce. Everyone instantly understood. It was no wonder Sue E could take out 5 large gold notes from the Chimera Chamber of Commerce. He was actually related to the Chimera Chamber of Commerce. Then even more doubts appeared in everyone's hearts. A small new flyer, how could they be related to the Chimera Chamber of Commerce? They could even send a manager to Banta City to help Sue E out of this situation? Fairy Ross didn't care about the doubts in everyone's hearts as he continued with an expressionless face. "At the request of New Flyer's chairman Sue, I'm here to specially announce something to everyone. After strict examination, the New Flyer has submitted a loan request to our Chimera Chamber of Commerce. The total amount is 5 million gold coins. Chapter 131. This auction that attracted the attention of countless people and attracted several large and small companies of the Lampari Kingdom to gather in Banta City was actually just a play that Sue E put on with the royal family. New Flyer naturally couldn't take out an exaggerated amount of 2 million gold coins, and it was like everyone thought, they didn't have the qualifications to apply for a 5 million gold coin loan from the Chimera Chamber of Commerce. This 5 million gold coin loan was applied for by the king in the name of New Flyer. As for the 2 million gold coins used in the auction of the first mine, it naturally flowed back into His Majesty's hands. In the end, the 3 million gold coins that were not spent were directly returned to the Chimera Chamber of Commerce. In this auction, Sui and New Flyer didn't spend a single cent, and the king only paid a negligible 20,000 gold coins in interest for the short-term loan of 5 million gold coins. Compared to the 2,300,000 gold coins they earned from selling the second mine, this really wasn't worth mentioning. Of course, according to the contract between Sui and the king, the Frestek Chamber of Commerce should have obtained 2 mines. Although one of them fell into the hands of the Frestek Chamber of Commerce through this method, the other mine was still auctioned off by the Fulcao Chamber of Commerce. But in Seveni and Sui's plan, they already had a response to this. If Sui could buy the second mine for the right price, that would be good, but after Chairman Morgan threw out these harsh words at the auction, Sui chose to give up after careful consideration. Seveni gave Sui 2 choices in this situation. One was that according to the price of the second mine for 1,300,000 gold coins, the king would pay 1,300,000 gold coins to New Flyer, which would be considered as payment for the agricultural magic machine order. The second was to choose another iron mine in the kingdom and find a way to give it to Sui, which would be no different from the previous contract. However, Sui gave Seveni another plan, which was for New Flyer to rent some land from the kingdom's royal family and use the rent from this land as payment. As for the size of the land, Sui's initial request was 10 times the size of Banta City. And Seveni's response to this was, "Chairman Su, are you crazy?" Of course, Sui was not crazy. On the contrary, he was extremely clear-headed. It was precisely because he was very clear-headed that he proposed the plan of leasing land from the royal family instead of directly obtaining the territory like before. This was because Sui had specially researched the history of the Lampari kingdom and discovered that ever since the founding of the Lampari kingdom, although the royal family of the Lampari kingdom had promoted new nobles, they had never been given an inch of land. From this, it could be seen that the Lampari kingdom's royal family placed great importance on land ownership. Sui didn't think that he was qualified for the royal family to make an exception and give him land, so after considering it, he decided to take a step back and rent land from the royal family. They were both renting, but renting land from the royal family was very different from renting land from nobles. First, the royal family was the ruler of the Lampari kingdom, so other than the territories of the nobles, they had over 70% of the kingdom's territory. If they rented from the royal family, they could be more generous and request for large amounts of land. If they rented from the nobles, even if it was the Stag family with the largest territory, it was impossible for them to rent land that Sui was satisfied with. Second, the royal family was without a doubt much more stable than the nobles. If they rented land from the nobles only needed a single thought to cause New Flyer to become passive. The royal family was the ruler of the kingdom, so they cared more about their reputation and the overall situation than the nobles. In a normal situation, they wouldn't easily change their policies. The reason why Sui wanted his own territory was mainly because the pressure came from the back. Now that the New Flyer was renting Viscount Leslie's territory, although Sui had a good relationship with Viscount Leslie and Viscount Leslie was a major shareholder of the New Flyer, so normally there wouldn't be any problems, Sui didn't have much hope in this relationship. This could be seen from the 300 slaves that Viscount Leslie had placed into the household magic machine workshop. It was clear that these 300 slaves didn't belong to Viscount Leslie. Viscount Leslie seemed to be dissatisfied with placing these 300 slaves, so he had secretly hinted to Sui that he shouldn't treat these 300 slaves as real workers and shouldn't let them touch all the technology in the workshop. But no matter how unwilling Viscount Leslie was, these 300 slaves still entered the workshop, and after a month of learning, a large portion of the slaves had grasped the technology. Sue was very clear that these 300 slaves should have been placed by the Stag family behind Viscount Leslie. Based on this, it was clear that Viscount Leslie would be influenced by the family behind him. So even if he had a good relationship with Sue and the new flyer, he couldn't decide everything. So Sue wanted to avoid a situation that couldn't be controlled, so of course he wanted his own territory. Even if the land he rented from the royal family was limited by people, no matter what, it was much better than the current situation. So even if Seveny couldn't help reprimanding Sue for being crazy, Sue still insisted on this request. Under Sue's insistence, Seveny finally decided to report Sue's plan to the king. As for whether Sue would get what he wanted, Seveny didn't dare guarantee it. It took Sue a bit of time to finish the auction. When he finished all the procedures and successfully took over the mine in the name of the Frestec Chamber of Commerce, it was already the end of December without him noticing. Signs also celebrated New Year's, and of course they had to take a break for New Year's. Even if the new flyer still had many unfinished orders, no matter what, Sue couldn't ask the workers to work overtime during New Year's. After discussing it with Hines, Camby, and the others, the new flyer decided to take a break from the 25th of December until the 7th of January. On the 20th of December, the 2 workshops of the new flyer were filled with cheers. Because Sue announced that the New Year's break was longer than most companies in Banta City, once it was announced, it naturally received the support of all the workers. What made the workers of the Frestec Chamber of Commerce even happier was that Sue announced that the Frestec Chamber of Commerce would not only pay everyone their wages before New Year's, they would also be giving everyone an extra month's salary as a year-end bonus. Before this, no one knew what a year-end bonus was. After hearing Sue personally announce this, all the workers went wild with joy. Because according to Sue's announcement, not only would most of the workers receive last month's salary, they would also receive half a month's salary, as well as an entire month's salary. In this way, any worker would be able to receive a salary of more than 30 gold coins before the new year. Even if their salary was higher and they worked overtime, they could receive a high salary of over 40 gold coins or even close to 50 gold coins. For these workers who could only earn 3-4 gold coins a month before entering the new flyer, this was a large amount of money. With this money, these workers who came from poor families wouldn't need to worry about their family's livelihood during New Year's like before. Thinking of how they could take a large amount of gold coins home and let their parents and wives have a good New Year's, the workers looked at Sue with eyes filled with gratitude. In that moment, Sue's image in their hearts became incomparably large. But not all the workers were this excited. The biggest exception were the 300 slaves that Viscount Leslie had placed in. They were different from the 100 slaves under Sue's name. Viscount Leslie had specially ordered that these 300 slaves couldn't be given any preferential treatment, so even if Sue felt a bit apologetic, he still couldn't give them a salary. He even had scruples about giving them some compensation. In the end, Sue was helpless and could only buy some small things that could be used during New Year's as a reward for their work. However, even if it was a small thing that wasn't even worth a gold coin, it was like it was hot in the hands of the slaves. If it wasn't for Sue forcefully ordering his subordinates, no one would have dared to accept it. Other than the 300 slaves, the 9 magicians in charge of drawing the magic array weren't as excited as the other workers. These magicians had only been in the new flyer for less than a month and didn't have a sense of familiarity with this place, so naturally they wouldn't be as excited as the other workers. 2. The magicians had more experience than the workers, so how could they be moved that easily? Of course, it would be a lie to say that they weren't happy. Even if they had only worked for the Frestec Chamber of Commerce for less than a month, because their work efficiency was much higher than the students, when it was settled, their wages were actually over 20 gold coins. If it was a full month, their monthly salary might even surpass 30 gold coins. For these magicians who were at most second grade, this was a high salary that was enough to make them happy. The new flyer didn't work like normal today. Rather, they finished some work in the morning and cleaned up the two workshop. They had a meal together at noon, and after eating a good meal, they began to give out their salaries. After such a torment, the whole day passed just like that. After taking care of the final arrangements for the workers with great difficulty, Sue E. Hines, Camby, and the other leaders of the company came to Banta City. They had them go to a restaurant, and he went to Evita and Akali's research lab. Chapter 132. It was rare that the door to the research facility wasn't closed, so Sue E. walked in and saw Akali sitting cross-legged on the floor of the living room. She was folding the clothes next to her and putting them into a bag next to her. From the looks of it, she was packing her luggage. Feeling someone walk in, Akali raised her head and saw Sue E. She immediately reached out her hand to him. "Sir Chairman, give me the money, I'm waiting for it to go home." Sue E. revealed a smile and took out a bag of money that he had already prepared to throw over. Akali took the bag of money and felt her hands sink. She opened the bag and poured out the gold coins on the ground. After carefully counting it, she couldn't help but be shocked. 76 gold coins? That much? I say, Sir Chairman, did you make a mistake? At this time, Evita, who heard the commotion, came down from upstairs. Beside her was Steele, who had come to send them off. Hearing Akali say the number, even the usually calm Evita was shocked. "Chairman, why is it so much?" Steele wasn't too surprised as she looked at Evita and Akali with a smile. "Other than the 26 gold coins from last month and this month, there's another 50 gold coins for your year-end bonus," Sue E. explained. "Year-end bonus?" Evita and Akali looked at each other with a confused expression. "What does that mean?" "It means what it means. At the end of the year, in order to reward you for your hard work this year, we'll give you an extra bonus," Sue E. replied. "Due to your outstanding work and to show the importance of researchers, the company decided to give you a higher year-end bonus than normal employees. In the end, it was decided to be 50 gold coins. How is it? Are you satisfied?" "Of course I'm satisfied." Akali jumped up from the ground and hugged Sue Yi's arm. "Sir Chairman, I really love you to death. My parents will be so happy when they find out that I brought so much money home for the new year. Then I really have to congratulate you." Sue E calmly pulled his arm back and took out 2 other bags of money for Evita and Steele. Evita took the bag of money and softly said thank you, but she didn't open it to count. Still directly put the money into her small bag, not showing any special expression at all. Seeing Akali put the gold coins back into the bag, Sue E suddenly said, "That's right, there's something I need to tell you. From next year onwards, the basic salary of the 3 of you will be increased from 15 gold coins to 25 gold coins a month." The 3 looked at Sue E in surprise. Akali couldn't help but ask, "It's that much? Sir Chairman, did you suddenly become rich?" "I've been rich, SSSSSSSSS. What? Is there anything you're not willing to give a raise? If you're not willing, I'll give it to Evita and Steele, you can keep it the same, alright?" No, I'm very willing." Akali quickly waved her hand and begged, "Sir Chairman, I'm just saying, please don't take it seriously." Sue E gave a soft snort. He looked around and then asked, "You haven't packed your luggage yet? It's already quite late, if you don't hurry, you won't be able to catch the carriage." Evita sighed and looked at Akali. "If it wasn't for Akali, we would have already packed. It's too troublesome to find things," Akali muttered as her hands moved faster. Since the girls were packing, Sue E naturally couldn't stay for long. He said a few words of good luck to the 2 of them and then planned to leave. Before he reached the door, Steele called out to him, "Sue E, are you planning on going home during the holidays?" "Going home?" Sue E was stunned. "Going home to what?" "Going back to my own home." Steele said in a natural voice. I remember that you're not from Banta, right? It's New Year's now, of course you have to go back to your hometown. Speaking of this, I've never heard you mention your hometown before. Where is your hometown? Hearing Steele's question, Evita and Akali stopped what they were doing and looked over in curiosity. Hometown? Sue silently repeated this word twice, and couldn't help revealing a bitter smile. His hometown was not in this world. How could he go back? Seeing the curious gazes of the three, Sue shook his head and said with a sigh, I can't go back to my hometown now, so I'll be staying here for New Year's. Can't go back? The three of them were even more curious. Akali immediately asked, Sir Chairman, what do you mean you can't go back? Is it because your hometown has been destroyed? Or is it because you were chased out by someone? Akali! Evita gave a rare sharp shout, fiercely glaring at Akali. Akali immediately reacted, and stuck out her tongue, saying in a small voice, Sir Chairman, I'm just curious, I don't have any other meaning, don't misunderstand. Sue shook his head with a faint smile, it's nothing. But don't ask me where my hometown is in the future, I'm not willing to talk about this topic. Akali immediately nodded. Although Sue still had a smile on his face, Evita could clearly see the deep melancholy hidden under Sue smile. Seeing the sadness in Sue eyes, Evita couldn't help feeling pain in her heart. This Sir Chairman who always seemed confident, like he wouldn't be defeated by anything, actually had such a weak side. In an instant, Evita had the urge to hug Sue and comfort him. Evita was just being impulsive, but Steele took action. Under Evita and Akali's shocked gazes, Steele walked forward and opened her arms to hug Sue, saying softly, If you don't want to say it, then don't say it, we won't ask in the future. Sue was startled by Steele's sudden hug. Smelling the fragrance coming from Steele's body, his body froze before relaxing and smiling. It's not that serious, you don't have to worry about it. Steele immediately let go after hugging him. Based on her stiff movements and the red blush on her face, she was actually a bit nervous in her heart. The room fell into a strange silence. After a while, Steele adjusted her expression and asked, Since you're staying here for the new year, that's even better. If you don't have anywhere else to go, why don't you come to my house for the new year? During the new year, my father and mother will also come back. Adding grandfather and me, the house will be very lively. If you also come, it'll be even more lively. Grandfather has always liked you and has always wanted to invite you to my house as a guest. Moreover, I believe that my father and mother will also like you after seeing you. Do you want to come? Seeing Steele's expectant eyes, Sue thought about it before shaking his head. I'm afraid I'll have to disappoint you. Although I'll be staying for the new year, I still have work to do. This is because I promised Agnes that I'll go to her place this year. This trip will take a while, and the holidays might be over by the time I come back. Agnes. Steele revealed a look of disappointment, but before she could say anything, Akali spoke first. Sir Chairman, this Agnes. From her name, she should be a girl, right? She's a girl, what about it? Sue nodded and asked back. What about it? You're still asking what about it? Akali raised her voice with an angry look on her face. Steele has already invited you to her house for the new year and wants to introduce you to her father and mother, but in the end, you're going to another girl's place to reject her. Sir Chairman, you're too fickle in love. Sue was a bit confused. Fickle in love? How am I fickle in love? All right, Sir Chairman, I really misjudged you. I thought you were a good man and I quite liked you before. I never thought you were this kind of person, Akali didn't say anything else, but Evita and Steele both covered her mouth. Seeing Akali's angry expression and Steele's red face, no matter how slow Sue was, he still understood. He laughed and said, Akali, you're mistaken. I'm going to Agnes' place because of work and Steele is also clear on this matter. Isn't that right, Steele? Steele nodded and gave an unsound, but there was still a trace of disappointment on her face. Akali stopped struggling and looked at Steele with a puzzled look, as if she didn't understand why she had this kind of reaction. Sui shook his head. He thought that these little girls were really sensitive and hard to deal with. Thinking about it, Sui said to Steele, "If the work goes smoothly and I come back early, I'll go visit your family. At the very least, I have to send my New Year greetings to your grandfather, right? Of course, it'd be even better if I could see your parents. I'm very curious what kind of parents would give birth to such an outstanding and beautiful girl like you." Steele's face turned even redder. Evita and Akali looked at Sui in surprise. They were very surprised that he would say something like this. Akali pushed away their hands covering her mouth and couldn't help saying, "Sir Chairman, I thought you were a block of wood and didn't know how to compliment girls." Sui laughed. "This isn't a compliment but rather the truth. Look, I'm also very curious what kind of parents would give birth to such a lively and curious girl like you, Akali." "This isn't a compliment." Akali glared at Sui in annoyance. Sui laughed and clapped his hands. "All right, you guys shouldn't talk nonsense with me. There isn't much time, so you should quickly pack up and leave. That's right, send my greetings to your parents for the new year. Tell them to thank their good daughter for her contributions to our new flyer." Evita and Akali replied before turning to help Akali pack her luggage. Steele saw that Sui was about to leave and suddenly shouted, "Sui, I also want to go." Sui turned his head in surprise. "Where do you want to go?" "To Agnes' place." Evita and Akali couldn't help stopping what they were doing as they looked at Steele in surprise. Sui looked at Steele's serious expression and couldn't help tapping his head. These little girls, what were they thinking? Chapter 133. 2 days later, a horse carriage left the main road to the west of Banta City and headed into the mountains to the side. A slender arm lifted the curtain of the carriage, and Vivian's little face poked out of the window. After taking a look at the scenery outside, she could not help but exclaim, "So the dwarves live in such deep mountains. No wonder it was so difficult to see them before. That was before, it's too easy to see them now." Steele's voice came from inside the carriage. "Vivian, when the company starts working again, if you want to see the dwarves, you just need to go to the magic machine workshop and you'll see several hundred dwarves at any time." "Yes." Vivian nodded vigorously. Vivian gave a strong nod. "The people of Banta City aren't that curious about the dwarves now, right? But they should still be curious about the elves, don't you think so, young Miss Agnes?" Steele's final words were turned to Agnes on the other side of the carriage. Agnes seriously thought about it before saying with a nod, "It should be. We elves don't like interacting with humans more than the dwarves and haven't appeared in front of humans in several hundred years, so it's normal for them to be curious about us. But now that your tribe is about to be exposed to humans, young Miss Agnes, aren't you nervous?" Steele asked. Agnes' voice had a trace of helplessness. "There's no other way, our tribe is facing difficulties and to solve these problems, it seems like only you humans have a way. In order to survive, even if we're exposed to humans again, there's no other way. Then again, I feel that Chairman Su is right, not every human is a bad person. Other than good people like Chairman Su who are willing to help us solve our problems, there are also people like Vivian who are as pure as us elves. Other than that, young Miss Steele is an elegant and beautiful person that I like very much." Steele's face turned a bit red. "Many thanks for your praise. But I feel that your luck is good. The first human you met was Sui. Although that fellow is an unscrupulous merchant, his character isn't bad. Since he agreed to help you, he will definitely do it." Agnes nodded, "Yes. After interacting with Chairman Su many times and observing him during this period of time, I feel that he should be a trustworthy human." Steele's eyes turned and she suddenly asked, "That's right, Agnes, you said that you've always been by Su Yi's side, then is it always like this?" Do you even follow Sue when he's sleeping, bathing, and going to the toilet? Agnes had a natural expression as she nodded again. Yes. Steele's eyes widened in surprise. You were there when he was taking a shower? Then didn't you see him naked? Agnes didn't seem to understand Steele's meaning at all as she said in a confused voice, I saw it all, is there something wrong with that? Suddenly, Su-Yi's violent coughs, as well as his embarrassed and angry voice, could be heard from the front of the carriage. Coo, coo, coo. I say, Agnes, why didn't you tell me that you were beside me when I was bathing? Agnes opened the curtain of the carriage and asked Su-Yi who was driving the carriage, because I didn't feel that there was a problem. Why do you and young Miss Steele care so much about this problem? Su-Yi slowed down the carriage and turned to look at Agnes. Seeing her innocent expression, he could only helplessly sigh. Then he looked at Steele with a strange expression and angrily said, You're still laughing. I was unknowingly seen by her. It's me who suffered a loss, all right? Steele gave a soft snort. You are a man, what is there to suffer a loss for? Agnes is such a beautiful elven girl, if anyone suffers a loss, it's her who suffers a loss. Sui shook his head and decided not to argue with Steele about this problem. But after seeing Steele and Agnes talk, their relationship became much better, so it wasn't good to be at ease. Originally he was prepared to come alone with Agnes, but when he set off, he found that because Evita and Akali had already returned home, Vivian had no one to entrust her to, so he could only bring her along. And for some reason, Steele insisted on coming along. Su-Yi's persuasion had no effect, so he could only agree in the end. So for a trip that Su-Yi thought was very simple, there were 2 extra girls that came along. But there was an advantage to this. The road was much more lively and it wasn't as boring. Because Su-Yi had paid for the road to the dwarf tribe, the last 20 kilometers of the trip wasn't purely on foot like the first time. They drove the carriage, and after less than an hour, they could already see thick smoke in the sky. Could it be that there's a fire over there? Seeing the thick smoke, Steele couldn't help asking in surprise. No, that should be the smoke from the steel mill and the lime factory. Su-Yi looked at the smoke in the distance and slightly knit his brows. Although this scene made him think of the factories on Earth and made him feel a sense of familiarity, seeing this scene, he couldn't help but think of the serious problem of environmental pollution. The place where the Norma tribe and the Angola tribe were at was considered beautiful and had a pleasant environment, but since Su-Yi invested in the steel mill and lime factory, the dust from the 2 factories quickly eroded the environment. Although Chief Saluka and Chief Monto didn't care and were happy that the 2 factories gave their tribe a stable income, Su-Yi was very clear on the serious consequences of environmental pollution, so he was naturally worried. However, the process of industrialization on Earth was accompanied by severe pollution, and no country could avoid it. Therefore, if the Signs wanted to develop their industry according to Su-Yi's ideas, this was a path they had to go through. But after thinking about it, Su-Yi thought of a problem. He was developing the magic industry on this continent. Compared to the industries on Earth, the magic industry had a great advantage, and that was its energy consumption mainly came from magic, so it didn't cause pollution. Since Su-Yi's magic industry didn't have any pollution problems, then the steel mill and lime factory should also be able to avoid this problem. Su-Yi pondered on how to improve the production process of the 2 factories as the carriage continued forward. It didn't take long for them to enter the Norma tribe. Kanbai and the other dwarves had returned to the tribe during the factory holidays, and they already knew that Su-Yi was coming today. Now that they saw the carriage, the dwarves of the tribe came forward to welcome them, with Chief Saluka leading them. Seeing that Su-Yi was the one driving the carriage, and after the carriage came to a stop, 3 different beauties of different sizes jumped out. The dwarves couldn't help but feel astonished. Chairman Su, welcome, welcome. Chief Saluka's gaze swept over the 3 beauties, pausing on Agnes for a while before he laughed heartily and extended his hand to Sui. Sui shook his hand and exchanged a few pleasantries, before having Chief Saluka bring him to the steel mill to take a look. This steel mill was built by Chief Saluka before Sui went to Anvil City, because the dwarves had made a breakthrough in their material research. Because of the silver leaf grass powder, Sui named it the silver leaf steel. After the dwarves worked hard to research it, they had already grasped the properties of this steel. Now the dwarves could refine 3 different kinds of silver leaf steel with different properties. So Sui directly invested a large amount of money and built this steel mill in the Norma tribe, letting the dwarves focus on refining the silver leaf steel. According to Sui's judgment, the silver leaf steel had a wide range of uses. Just based on the current situation, it could replace the normal iron that New Flyer used to make the magic fans, magic air conditioners, magic rice cookers, and magic lamp. If it was changed to this kind of steel that had outstanding hardness and ductility, as well as the properties of stainless steel, these household magic machines would have a heaven-shaking change. As for the large and heavy magic machines made by the magic machines, because there was a high requirement for the hardness of the steel, the silver leaf steel wasn't suitable. Based on this, Sui had high hopes for the other kind of steel that he had discovered before, but because the dwarves hadn't grasped it yet, he couldn't count on it for now. As for this steel mill that was used to refine the silver leaf steel, it could be considered very small. It had been in production for close to 2 months and it had refined less than 10,000 tons of silver leaf steel. According to the standards of Earth, this couldn't even compare to the output of the smallest steel mill. But Sui was already very satisfied with this. After all, the steel-making industry in Signs had just started and the output of this small steel mill kept increasing. In the first month, they had refined less than 3,000 tons and in the second month, they had refined over 5,000 tons. According to this speed, as long as the dwarves continued to practice and improve the refining process, as well as gradually increasing the scale, even if this steel mill didn't catch up to the standards of Earth, it would at least be enough to meet the needs of New Flyer. Steel, Vivian, and even the elf Agnes who were seeing the steel mill for the first time had shocked looks on their faces. The scene in front of them had completely surpassed their understanding. To Steel and Vivian, the so-called iron refining was just the process of the blacksmiths in Banta City throwing iron ores into the furnace to slowly refine them. But what was happening in front of them now was a completely different situation. Pile after pile of iron ores were thrown into the giant furnace, and the molten iron came out from the other side like magma. Finally it flowed into the mold and gradually cooled into pieces of silver-white glowing steel. Whether it was the scale or the efficiency, as well as the shock it gave people, it far surpassed the blacksmiths by countless times. Steel looked at the silver leaf steel that had already been formed and asked Sui, "You said last time that the magic fans would be made with a new material next year. Was this what you were referring to?" Sui nodded with a faint smile. "When the magic fans are sold next summer, everyone will be shocked." Agnes on the side heard the conversation between the two and looked at the heated steel-making process in front of her. Her confidence in Sui deepened a bit. Since this human could create such a shocking scene, then it should be easy for him to solve the problem of his tribe, right? Chapter 134. Compared to the steel factory, the cement factory was not as shocking. Instead, because of the dust flying around, it was very messy. Steel couldn't help knitting her brows since it was her first time here. Vivian didn't dislike this environment at all. When she was a slave under Viscount Leslie, her living environment wasn't much better than this. Sui thought that Agnes, who couldn't accept this kind of environment, would reject it the most, but he never thought that Agnes would just silently watch and not express any opinions. "Agnes, don't you feel that the environment here is very bad?" Sui couldn't help asking. Agnes shook her head. "I feel that it's very bad. But us elves have a strong ability to adapt to the environment, so the environment here doesn't affect me at all. I thought that you elves had high requirements for the environment like the rumors said. Sue muttered. Yes. Us elves are a race that pursues perfection. Although we can adapt to various environments, we have high requirements for where we live. If you go to our tribe, you'll find that the place we live in is very beautiful. I believe that. Sue immediately nodded. Thinking about it, he pointed at the dirty cement factory in front of him and asked, Then do you think there's a way to improve the environment here? It's fine as long as we don't let the dwarves turn the stones to dust. Agnes naturally replied. Sue couldn't help being depressed before saying with a bitter smile, I'm asking if there's a way to improve the environment while maintaining the cement factory's operation. Is there a way? Agnes slightly knit her brows. After thinking for a bit, she gave a slight nod. There should be a way. Our tribe has a kind of still clothes grass that can absorb the dust in the air and keep the environment clean. But there is too much dust here, so I don't know if it'll work. It's good to try. Sue obtained a satisfactory answer and immediately revealed a smile. When we reach your tribe, I will ask your elders to help transplant some still clothes grass. Seeing Agnes agree, Sue turned to look at Chief Saluka on the side and said, Chief Saluka, I suggested last time that you move the clansman's living area a bit further away to avoid being affected by the dust. Why is it that when I came this time, I found that you didn't do anything? Chief Saluka laughed heartily as he patted his sturdy chest and said, Chairman Sue, you underestimate us dwarves too much. It's just some ash. Our dwarf race is so strong that we don't care about it at all. You should know that a long time ago we dwarves lived in underground caves. At that time we dwarves still loved forging. Soot floated in the cave every day, but nothing happened. Sue furrowed his brows. Chief Saluka, even if you dwarves have strong bodies, this dust is still very harmful to your bodies. If there's a good choice to let you stay away from this pollution, why aren't you willing to do it? Seeing Sue's serious expression, Chief Saluka rubbed his head and said with some embarrassment, moving all the clansmen away would cost quite a bit of money. Sue's face immediately sank. Chief Saluka, I thought you were a good chief that the clansmen truly loved. I didn't think that for a trifling amount of money, you would let your clansmen face the danger of being harmed. You've really disappointed me. Chief Saluka remained silent, but Camby on the side couldn't watch any longer. He quickly said, Chairman, you've misunderstood the chief. How have I misunderstood him? Sue was already a bit depressed because of the shocking pollution here. Now that he heard Chief Saluka's answer, it directly evoked a trace of anger in his heart. Hearing Camby still wanting to defend him, he immediately retorted with a question without any trace of politeness. Camby, you and your brothers in the workshop live in the factory every day and aren't affected by this place. Of course you don't know the harm your clansmen will suffer from living in this environment. Don't you know that if this continues, the lifespan of you dwarves might be affected? Camby had worked under Sue for a long time, and had gradually developed a sense of reverence towards Sue. After being reprimanded, he didn't dare to retort. But after thinking about it, he still tried his best to defend Chief Saluka. Chairman, you have to be considerate of the chief. Although our tribe's days have become better because of you, we're still short of money. The chief is thinking for his clansmen, and isn't willing to use up the money they use to buy food. Sue was startled. The money you're earning now isn't enough to buy food? Chief Saluka shook his head with a wry smile. It's enough to buy food, but I want to keep some money for my clansmen to rebuild their houses after winter passes. So, Chairman Sue, you're right. If our clansmen's health deteriorates, then there's no point in keeping the money. I'll immediately mobilize my clansmen to move. Sue muttered to himself for a moment, and then suddenly asked, Chief Saluka, according to your estimation, how much money would it cost to move all our clansmen to a better place? Actually, if it's just moving, it wouldn't cost a single copper coin. The houses we dwarves live in were built with our own hands, so we just need to spend some time on it. But a trace of embarrassment flitted across Chief Siluka's face. I want to take advantage of the fact that our clan is richer than before to build better houses for our clansmen. That's why we need to buy some materials from the humans. The best case scenario is that we can ask you humans to help us build our houses, because you humans are much better at building houses than us, and they're also more beautiful. I've calculated that if we build a nice house for each clan, we'll need to spend over 2,000 gold coins. Sui nodded and said with a straight face, "All right then. Chief Siluka, I'll represent New Flyer and express my sincerity. I'll sponsor your clan with 3,000 gold coins in the name of the conglomerate, specifically for building new houses for you." Chief Siluka and Camby were both shocked and hurriedly waved their hands. "How could that be? No, Chairman Su, our tribe being able to have such good days is all because of you and the Frestek Chamber of Commerce. We've already received so much help from you, how could we still need you to give us money?" "No, I can't take this money," Sui firmly said. "You have to take it even if you don't want to." "But Chief Siluka, I've thought about it and directly giving you money isn't good. Because you are dwarves, if you find a human construction company to build a house for you, you'll be cheated of quite a bit of gold coins. How about this? I have a good relationship with the Amsterdam Chamber of Commerce in Banta City, so I'll contact the Amsterdam Chamber of Commerce to build a house for you. As for the style and location of the house, it'll be up to you to decide. What do you think of this plan?" Chief Siluka and Camby's eyes lit up. This method isn't bad. But Chairman Su, this will be too troublesome for you. Moreover, wouldn't this cost a lot of money? I'm afraid that 2,000 gold coins isn't enough. Sui waved his hand. "You don't need to worry about the matter of money. Thinking of having the Amsterdam Chamber of Commerce build a house, I've suddenly had a new idea. Chairman Siluka, do you know how many dwarven brothers there are in our Lampari kingdom?" Chief Siluka thought about it before replying in an uncertain voice, "Around 20 to 30,000? I'm not certain." Then how many dwarven brothers can you contact?" Sui asked. "There are less than 20 tribes that are in contact with our tribe, so there are less than 5,000 of them," Chief Siluka replied. "Very good. My new idea is that since we're building new houses, we might as well build a bit more at once. I'm planning to choose an open area not far from here and build a house that can accommodate several thousand dwarves at once. Other than your Norma tribe's dwarves moving in, I'll invite the other tribes to move in as well. For example, Chief Monto of the Angola tribe should agree with my idea." Hearing Su Yi's idea, not only were Chief Siluka, Kanbai, and the other dwarves shocked, even Steel looked at Su Yi in astonishment. "Hey Su Yi, what are you thinking of doing? Gathering so many dwarves together, aren't you afraid of arousing the suspicion of the kingdom's officials?" Su Yi was startled. "That's a problem." Chief Siluka hurriedly said, "Miss Steel is right. If we dwarves gather too many together, I'm afraid your human king will misunderstand." "Chairman Su, we appreciate your kindness in helping us build a house, but let's forget about the rest. No, I think this is a good idea. His Majesty might not object or be vigilant." Sui thought for a bit and continued, "How about this? Let's follow our original plan. Chief Siluka, you choose a place nearby, and I'll go find the Amsterdam Chamber of Commerce to help you build a new tribe. But Chief Siluka, when you choose a location, it's best if you choose a place where you can build more houses nearby. If my idea can gain His Majesty's approval, there'll be room for implementation." Seeing Su Yi's insistence, Chief Siluka could only nod in agreement. But out of caution, Chief Siluka couldn't help but remind Su Yi. "Chairman Su, although the war between races has been over for several thousand years, you humans are still wary of us outsiders. It's no problem for you to hire some of our dwarven brothers, but if you want to gather so many dwarves together like this, it'll easily arouse the suspicion of your human king. I'm worried that this will bring trouble to you and New Flyer. You'd better be careful." Steele also frowned and said worriedly, "That's right, Sui. Chief Saluka is right. Although I don't have any prejudice against dwarves or other races, it's hard to guarantee that others will. What if some people are already hostile to you, and you're close to the dwarves? They might be able to use this against you." "I understand your worries." Sui smiled faintly. "But I have to say that's because they still haven't recognized the value of other races. If they do one day, I'm afraid I won't even need to do anything. They'll actively seek change. When that time comes, I'll become a prophet." Steele rolled her eyes at him. "I'm afraid you'll become a martyr before you become a prophet." Chapter 135. Sui and Steele's group of 3 only rested for a night at the Norma tribe before heading to the Angola tribe the next morning. They discussed a few things with Chief Monto and discussed the matter of building a new tribe before following Agnes to the falling rain forest. There was no wide path leading to the falling rain forest, so the 4 of them could only give up on the carriage and follow Agnes through the forest on foot. It was a good thing that the falling rain forest was less than 20 kilometers away, so Vivian, who had the weakest stamina out of the 4 of them, was still able to hold on. When the night of the second day arrived, the 4 of them finally entered the falling rain forest. The sky outside the falling rain forest was still bright, but once they entered the falling rain forest, the light above them was completely blocked by the thick branches and leaves that hadn't withered in the winter, so there was almost no light that could pass through. However, the falling rain forest wasn't completely dark. As far as the eye could see, there were specks of green, purple, and blue lights everywhere. The entire forest was shrouded in a strange color, adding a bit of mystery to it. Agnes was naturally used to this scene, but Sui, Steele, and Vivian, who came here for the first time, couldn't help being shocked. Especially Steele and Vivian, the 2 girls, they were filled with curiosity and excitement towards this mysterious environment. Steele even grabbed Sui's arm and happily shouted, "Sui, how good would it be if we could live here every day? This place is too beautiful." Sui expressionlessly pointed at her feet. "Watch it, don't step on that snake." Steele was scared. She looked down in the direction Sui was pointing and saw a large green snake slithering in front of them. This large snake didn't seem to be afraid of people and didn't want to pay attention to them. It just slithered past the 4 of them and disappeared into the darkness on the other side. "This is a green leaf snake, it won't bite people." Agnes pointed at where the large snake disappeared and explained. She waved her hand at the 3 of them. "Follow behind me, otherwise it's easy to get lost." The 3 hurriedly nodded and followed closely behind Steele, diving into the depths of falling rain forest. Before entering the falling rain forest, Sui didn't understand why many people knew that the elves lived in the forest, but almost no one could see the elves. After entering the falling rain forest, it didn't take long for Sui to understand. The falling rain forest wasn't a particularly large forest, but once one entered the forest, the surrounding environment would easily make one lose their sense of direction. Moreover, there were all kinds of plants in the forest, making it difficult for people to pass through. If it wasn't for Agnes leading the way, with just the 3 of them walking in, they would have completely lost their way and wouldn't know where they were at all. If they wanted to find the hidden elves in this kind of complicated environment, it would be an impossible matter. Not to mention that Agnes was normally very agile and strong, but once she entered the falling rain forest, it was like her body had lost its weight. She easily jumped between the trees, as if she didn't need to use any strength at all. At first the 3 of them could barely keep up, but in less than half an hour, Sui already couldn't keep up. The reason why he couldn't keep up with a little girl like Vivian was because Sui was carrying a large wooden box on his back. Inside was an important tool for this trip to the elven tribe. The wooden box weighed several dozen pounds, and even if Sue was young and strong, he couldn't carry it for too long. When Agnes saw this situation, she directly took the wooden box from Sue's back and easily carried it on her back. She used her other hand to support Vivian, who was also gasping for breath, walking forward without any effort. Steele looked at Sue with a look of disdain, and Sue gave a helpless bitter laugh. Then the two of them looked at each other and laughed at the same time before following her. After walking for around 2 hours and resting twice, Agnes suddenly had the three of them stop. She put down the wooden box on her back and let go of Vivian before saying to Sue, "Wait a minute." She jumped up after saying this and jumped onto a large tree beside her. After jumping 2 more times, she disappeared into the forest. Steele was surprised and couldn't help saying in a worried voice, "Sue, she wouldn't have left us here, right?" Sue sat down and patted the ground beside him. "Relax, Agnes still hopes that we can help her tribe solve their problem. Come, let's rest first." Steele looked in the direction Agnes disappeared in and thought about it. She found that there was no point in being anxious, so she also sat down beside Sue. The three of them sat down and rested for around 10 minutes. When they were about to catch their breath, there was a rustling sound from the trees above them as several figures jumped down. Sue looked over and found that the first one to jump down was Agnes. There were men and women who jumped down with Agnes, all of them having long ears. It seemed like they were Agnes elves. "Agnes, did your clansmen come to pick me up?" Sue stood up and greeted Agnes. Who would have thought that a male elf behind Agnes would suddenly take a step forward and block in front of Agnes? He raised his hands and pointed the bow in his hands at Sue. "Human, put down your hands." Seeing the vigilant look on the male elf's face, Sue knit his brows and said to Agnes, "What? Agnes, you didn't tell them what we came here for?" "I did, only." Agnes' expression was a bit awkward. After pausing for a bit, she looked at Sue with a pleading look. "Chairman Sue, can you do as they say? Please be assured they won't hurt you." Sue gave a soft snort and put down his hands. Compared to their attitude towards Sue, the elves' attitude towards Steele and Vivian was much better. Not only did they not point their bows at them like this male elf, the female elves beside them were curiously looking over the two of them, not revealing any hostility. It seemed like not only did humans rarely see elves, these elves also rarely saw humans. They were also filled with curiosity towards humans. Seeing Sue put down his hands, the hostility on the male elf's face disappeared, but he didn't let down his guard at all. He made a hand signal to the other elves and they took out a thick cloth. "Chairman Sue, young Miss Steele, young Miss Vivian, please cover your eyes," Agnes said in an embarrassed voice. "This is the elder's request, please understand." Sue gave a shrug and didn't say anything as he pointed at his eyes. The cloth was very thick and once it was tied up, Sue's eyes fell into darkness and he couldn't see anything. At this time, a soft and slender hand reached out and grabbed Sue's right hand. Then Agnes' voice softly sounded in Sue's ears, "Chairman Sue, come with me." Sue was led by Agnes and after walking around the forest for a while, he suddenly felt like his body had been brushed by something. Then he found that Agnes beside him had stopped. "Chairman Sue, we're here." Agnes reached out to take off the cloth covering Sue's eyes and a warm and bright light green light entered his eyes. Sue blinked and opened his eyes to look around, finding that they had arrived in an open space. The vegetation in the falling rainforest was very dense and Sue's group hadn't found an open space after walking for a while. Now there was an open space of close to 500 square meters, which made Sue feel very surprised. Looking around, Sue found that there were several giant trees with a diameter of over 20 meters around this open space. Looking at the giant trees, he could see beautiful wooden houses built on the thick branches of the giant trees. Although these wooden houses were built on the branches, they didn't seem out of place at all. It was like they had already merged with the giant trees and had a very beautiful appearance. It fully displayed the elves' love for beauty. Looking up, he found that the leaves on the top of these giant trees completely covered the sky, not revealing any gaps at all. However, there were faint green spots of light shooting out from the top of the trees and their trunks, illuminating the entire space clearly. Turning around, he saw that Steele and Vivian had already taken off the cloth covering their eyes and were curiously looking around. Sui relaxed, and when he was about to ask Agnes, a shadow suddenly fell down from above. Looking up, he saw an elven female slowly falling down from the sky. Sui's heart skipped a beat. This female elf could actually fall down this easily, which meant that her attainments in wind magic had already reached the level of a great magician. He never thought that in this small elven tribe there would be a great magician hidden, but thinking about it, it wasn't strange. The elemental magic that humans grasped was learned from the elves, and compared to the short lifespans of humans, the elves had a lot of time to learn magic. It could be said that every elder elf was a powerful magician. Although the female elf in front of him didn't look much older than Agnes, as long as the elves reached adulthood, their appearance wouldn't change that much. So how old she really was, Sui couldn't estimate it. "Human, you are Sui?" The female elf looked over Sui and asked this. Even if one ignored her extremely beautiful and mysterious appearance, just hearing this gentle and pleasant voice would make people involuntarily have a good impression of her. Sui nodded with a faint smile. "That's right, I am Sui. You should be the elder Elucia that Agnes often mentions, right?" The female elf looked at Agnes on the side and her lips curled into a faint smile. "Does Agnes often mention me to you?" Agnes' expression was a bit awkward, but she lowered her head and didn't dare say anything. "That's right, whenever Agnes mentions you, she would always show great respect for you. Before I came here, I was already very curious about you," Sui said. Elder Elucia revealed a faint smile. "Human, meaningless compliments have no meaning to me. Since I agreed to let Agnes bring you here, that means I'm willing to accept your help. But I'm more clear than Agnes that humans don't do meaningless things. You being willing to help us must mean you want to obtain some benefits from us. But human, you have already seen the situation here. Do you think we have any benefits worth you paying for us?" Sui said with a smile, "Of course there is. From what I can see, there are countless things here that can move my heart. For example, Elder Elucia is one of them." When these words were said, the expressions of the surrounding elves all changed. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.